bro, gonna be tackling a phrase, a description of President Trump that many folks tend to often repeat and suggest is valid. What are we talking about? We're talking about the phrase, Trump was right about everything. You've heard this undoubtedly before. Perhaps you've seen it written on a cloth, a towel, a flag. You've heard this phrase. Trump was right about everything. So today we're going to tackle that from an aspect of, is it valid? Is it valid that Trump indeed was right about everything he suggested from the globalists controlling most of the entities on the planet, draining the swamp in this country, exposing corruption, whether he's pointing out biolabs, neo-Nazis, and other factions in the Ukraine? Trump was right about everything. The election being stolen by the Biden administration, by his detractors, folks who did not want him to expose corruption in this country. We're going to be talking about it from that aspect. Trump was right about everything. We're going to ask that question. Why are there so many folks in this country that feel confident, despite the fact that Trump does have folks who disagree with him? Why are there so many folks who do truly believe Trump was right about everything, up to and including areas of discussion where no evidence has been presented? Trump was right about things that you look back and say, how do you know? So it's almost as if we're asking, how does he get the benefit of the doubt where most likely others would not? So we're going to be talking about it from actual scenarios that the former commander-in-chief has faced, whether it is the E. Jean Carroll allegations of sexual assault. You know, she ultimately won $88.3 million in 2 defamation cases against the former president. The idea that Trump did not have any classified documents in his possession, or that perhaps because he was president, it's impossible anyway because he could declassify them. Stolen election claims. We're going to be talking about that from the aspect of this alleged fake elector scheme. Trump was right about all of this stuff. We'll bring up Ruby Freeman undoubtedly. We'll certainly bring up Dominion voting machines will come up in the discussion. Trump was right about all of this. We're going to be talking about it from that aspect. And last but not least, Vice President Mike Pence had no legal recourse to refuse to certify the 2020 election. Trump was right about everything. That's what we're going to be talking about. Folks suggest that Trump was right about everything. We're going to ask, was he? Do you believe he indeed was correct? Or is it a case where Trump is receiving the benefit of the doubt where a hell of a lot of other folks may not? What say you? Last but not least, we know Letitia James dealing with, once again, another fraud case in New York City. Not to be mistaken with Fonnie Willis down there in Fulton County, Georgia. All of this, was Trump correct about this stuff? That's what we're going to be discussing. You know how the program is ran. Always has been, always will be MAGA friendly in its entirety. We do not block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary, regardless if you agree or disagree with yours truly or anyone else in the comment section. Nobody gives a damn. It's all about free speech. That's the way we operate the program. So, was Trump right about everything? Looking in the comments, a little to the left trucker says, #1 grifter. Yikes. You think Trump is just grifting? A lot of folks believe he was right about everything. How do you come out with grifting? Thoughts on the terrorist attack in Russia? Amir, listen, I don't know what Russia's involvement is with groups like Al-Qaeda or ISIS, but it does sound like, if you believe the U.S. intelligence services, and some don't believe them, but it sounds like they were warned by American intelligence services, and didn't listen. Now, I understand why Russia, who is currently in a proxy war with America, may not listen to our intelligence services. But it does sound like that's who hit them based on how the attack took place. And there are dark places on the web where you can actually watch it. I seen the attack. It's on video. I actually seen the attack. Bodies, I think it's 133 people they took out. They're blaming it on Ukraine, which they're obviously at war with the Ukraine, so that would give them an excuse to continue on. But I don't believe does Ukraine have the type of hit that Russia sustained? That has Al Qaeda, ISIS, terrorist acts written all over it. The Ukraine doesn't have a history of using firearms and going around shooting up innocent people. So I do believe Russia refused to accept a warning from U.S. intelligence, and it cost them. That's my take on it. Looking in the comment section, Russia just wants attention. No. Russia sustained a pretty bad terrorist attack. As I just stated, I actually was able to go and find it. It's on video, uncensored. I was actually able to go find it. People ducking behind seats and using phones to film what was happening. You see the gunmen in the theater. It's on video. No, it's not. It's certainly not seeking to get attention. It actually happened. Looking in the comments, we'll go straight to Airwolf. Good afternoon, Airwolf. Welcome to the program. Trump was right about everything, Airwolf. What say you? Airwolf, you're breaking up substantially. Can you hear me? Okay, apparently he picked up and got a phone call. That's what it looks like. All right, we'll keep it moving. Yeah, Trump, bone spur, draft dodger. Yikes. Has that been proven, though? That Trump dodged the draft by claiming to have bone spurs that he allegedly did not have. Has that been verifiably proven that he didn't have bone spurs and was doing it to deliberately dodge the draft? I know it's been proven that he didn't go because he had bone spurs, but how can you prove he was lying about it? Continuing on real quick, looking in the comments. Yep, it was. Please keep up the great work, says Scott's mom or something. Thank you, appreciate that. No, but he played sports. That says he was lying. That's an interesting comeback, suggesting that if you're going to say you got bone spurs and you can't join the military, how the hell are you playing sports that the injury should affect your ability to do so? Didn't tie those together as well. Thank you for your input. How can you prove the election was stolen? That's what we're asking. Was Trump right when he said the election was stolen? Was Trump right about everything? Let's try it again with Airwolf. You came in and went out. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Excellent. I just want to say great job. I like how you give both sides ample opportunity to come up and speak their piece.
I appreciate the accolade. Thank you. So was he right about everything?
I might be a little biased. If anybody has watched my lives, I'm a little biased. Of course I'm going to say no.
What was he not right about?
Nothing. Okay, well, let's just start out. I mean, what year are we in? And correct me if we are on start date 2024, correct?
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
Biden is getting ready to complete his first term as president. Hopefully he'll get a next one. But we've sat here and debated and waited for, what was it called at one time? The Kraken of evidence? Wasn't it called the Kraken? Look, as a liberal myself, I would like to see this because, I would like to fix whatever went wrong. I need to see what went wrong in order to fix it. Don't you? You can't just say something's broken by looking at it and be like, yep.
Yeah, I want to see as much evidence as possible. That's what I'm saying. When he said some of these things, was he right about it all, or was he fabricating things and making things up?
And look, I don't hide what side of the fence I'm on. I try not to do that. I want to be as clear and as transparent as I can. Mm-hmm. But as a Biden voter in 2020, I was like, all right, let's give former president, because I know what his rhetoric will be. We didn't look at all the facts. So I was willing to hold off on the celebration, hold off on everything, hold off on even calling President Biden, President-elect Biden, President-elect, until everything was rationed out. I think that was fair.
Okay. So let me ask you, because this is coming from Cheeky Chops on YouTube, who says, of course he's right, LOL. And then he says it's pretty much obvious, dumb Trump. So you were suggesting a lot of things Trump said is not right. If you're correct, why are there so many people who believe it is obvious that everything Trump said was right? How could you have such a different opinion?
Well, you see, what Trump is doing is he knows how to use not the best words, but the big words. And when he says it, he said it in a speech. I'm sure you could look it up. It would require using a search engine called Google, which a lot of my Trump supporters tell me to do my research. Mm-hmm. But when I do my research, I could find a speech where Trump has literally said, if you say something long enough and direct enough and hard enough, and you keep saying it, eventually they'll believe you.
Wow.
Here we are in 2024, and we have half of my Republican counterparts saying the election was somehow stolen.
But think of it this way. If you're suggesting that if you tell a lie over and over again, people will eventually believe it, why is that not working with the liberals? Liberals don't believe Trump.
That is true. Touche.
So what's the difference?
Because when you tell a liberal like myself that I might be wrong, I like to go right to the sources. Like, back in the 80s and 70s, I grew up in the 80s. Yes, I'm that old. We didn't have the rapid information. The Republican Party was left unchecked. A lot of the stuff when Reagan was in office was left like he could say the sky is green, and a lot of people wouldn't check out President Reagan to see if the sky was green. Now we have technology at the speed of that. Yeah, we have it now. We don't have to look at the Encyclopedia Britannica to fact check somebody. And this is what the Republican Party is afraid of, that when they say stuff, they can get away with it back in those times. Now they can't. Now we are holding our representatives to account, including President Biden, who I fact check on a regular daily basis. I'm not sitting here putting President Biden on a pedestal and saying he's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
But let's take the two men. You mentioned Biden. Taking Trump and Biden side by side, in terms of their statements, which one of these men do you think is often more correct in what they say or predict?
President Biden.
Why do you?
President Biden has warned us about the dangers of Donald Trump's rhetoric. I mean, just the other day, I know another content creator on this app who is of the Jewish faith, and I just would love to hear her reaction when Donald Trump said that people of that faith should be ashamed of themselves for voting liberally or democratically. Yeah, that was a stinger. That had to hurt. And that's just another voting base that Donald Trump's going to alienate. These people were probably, some of them.
I don't know. I gotta push back, and I get your point about the vote for me, you ain't Jewish comment from Trump. But I will say this: if you're Israel, who do you think is more likely to support you in your war effort against Hamas and the Palestinians, between liberals and Trump?
Yes, that would obviously be former President Trump. I will concede that.
Yeah. So even though his vote for me or you ain't Jewish comment sounded a bit harsh, it may resonate with Jewish people. Very similar to President Biden saying vote for me or you ain't black. And then hearing black folks say, well, to some degree that resonates.
Yeah, and I get that a lot. And, you know where that first came from? That came from an interview he had with Charlemagne the God.
I was watching it.
Yeah, and then what I can concede, and this, I shouldn't be touching this topic because I am not BIPOC.
No big. You can speak here. Don't worry about that.
Appreciate that. I wish Buzzy were here, but what Biden did, he made a mistake, and then immediately on that interview, if you watch it to its entirety, he apologized. He said that wasn't the message that I was trying to convey. Here's what I said. Now, when Donald Trump says this stuff, have you ever heard in an interview Donald Trump say, "Oh, man, I shouldn't have said that"? Well,
let me say this. I do got to move it on, but I will say this in regards to Biden saying, "Vote for me, you ain't black," and then coming back later in the same interview and said, "I made a mistake," and apologized. In my humble opinion, the mistake was not saying vote for me or you ain't black. The mistake was the apology, because that's what Trump is benefiting substantially for us. He does stick to his statements. Whether or not we agree with him, he doesn't apologize, and a lot of people like that.
Is that a sign of weakness in a president? Like, I get, I know you got other guests.
It's a sign of strength. A lot of folks view it as a sign of strength. Like Biden recently apologized for calling an illegal immigrant that came in the country and murdered someone an illegal. Why would you apologize for the improper labeling of an actual murderer? So I think the apologies on the left may be actually harmful as opposed to something that folks view as sympathetic.
So, because I'm deathly afraid of a second Trump president, I'm not going to lie. This will be my last question. What do you think, as a Biden supporter, or as Joe Biden himself, what do you think, because we're getting into it, we're less than, 8 months away from the national presidential election?
Yeah.
What do you think he has to do now? What is his next target? What should he do now to secure his re-election campaign?
Okay, I will answer it on the other side. I got to move it on, but I'll answer your question right after it. Appreciate you coming through, Airwolf. All right, moving the program on. Now, what he asked, what can Biden do? I do believe there are things that Biden could do to strengthen his campaign. Number one, I say it all the time, messaging. Messaging. There are too many liberals that will tell you Biden hasn't done a damn thing for this country. Whereas, I don't believe there's any such thing as a president that has done zero to benefit the country. The messaging from Biden is very poor. Now, my last guest brought up Charlemagne the God who did the interview, Vote for Me or You Ain't Black, the interviewer that got Biden to say that. Well, that individual, Charlemagne the God, said Trump does better at delivering lies than Biden does at delivering the truth. And to some degree, I got to give Trump credit. He does go out on a stump and talk to people more. Biden, by not talking to folks, the immigration bills that Biden did pass, trying to protect the border, and there's actually a lot of them. Most people don't know nothing about them. Because Biden doesn't, his messaging sucks. This whole thing about, I'm too busy running the country to talk to people that you might not get a chance to run it come a second term. Going back to the box though, why don't both presidents talk about aliens that exist? Randy Miller, I think you want Kennedy. If you want to hear more about the existence of supernatural, I'd advise you vote for Kennedy. He is talking about stuff like that. Trump and Biden are talking more about things that folks refer to as kitchen table issues. I don't think people are sitting around their kitchen talking about what's going on in Area 51. So you might want to look at Kennedy. Looking in the comments, had to get the stuff done to talk, whereas 45 just ran his mouth and did nothing. Well, President Trump running his mouth is not doing nothing. He's talking to the people, and regardless of how you feel about Trump, they're buying what he's saying. Biden is not talking to the people. Even if you believe Biden is getting things done, he's not talking to the people, and his detractors are negatively about him. The only people in the ears of most voters are people saying bad things about Biden. He needs to talk to people, suggesting that, I got to run the country so I can't talk to you. It's not working. It's not working for him. Going afternoon, King, welcome to the program. Trump was right about everything. That's what they say, King. What say you? Good afternoon.
Man, you know what? If I lived, instead of living in the United States, if I lived in Trumplandia with all of the people who are under his, I don't know what you want to call it, hypnotism or moronic behavior. I don't know what you want to call it, but if I lived in Trumplandia, then yeah, he would be right. Unfortunately, I live in reality along with most of the other Americans who choose to see it exactly for what it is. He's a snake oil salesman, like somebody else said in the comment, who sells snake oil and been selling it since a young boy.
But wait a minute, you can't just
say bullshit.
Okay, hang on, King. You can't just say something as inflammatory as that. You're saying that Trump has been a snake oil salesman for generations. I need you to elaborate. What makes you say Trump is a snake oil salesman?
Okay. People say Mar-a-Lago was built. Mar-a-Lago was built, you're right, by a whole bunch of immigrants who we didn't pay. There are contractors right now down in Florida still waiting on that check.
Wow.
Trump Towers, same thing. Contractors still waiting on checks. Them people ain't been paid. The reason why they okay with taking that, why Letitia James is okay with taking all that property now, is because hell, if they take it, they can get their money from it. They're good with that.
Yeah, but are there people
out there?
Yeah, but are there people in New York? Because right now, Letitia James has secured a $335 million judgment against Trump that continues to go up as we speak. But are there people in New York that work for Trump that are part of the fraud they allege Trump committed?
No, I don't think, not the contractors. Now, if you're talking about, if you want to say maybe some of the people in Atlantic City who helped them build those casinos, that also failed. And Trump University, that also failed. I don't know. I can't really speak on that. You know what I'm saying? I do know for a fact that when he was in Atlantic City with those casinos, he definitely had a racial problem. Because any black person, any colored person, any person of color that was in the casino, when Trump walked down the famous stairs of the Atlantic casinos, everybody changed money to white people's hands. And they wiped out and walked away and went to lunch or ran out of the casino. I'm not really sure. But you didn't see no white, no black faces, no people of color down there when Trump walked into those casinos.
Yeah, but I'm hearing over and over again that Trump did more for blacks than anybody. That's what I'm hearing.
What did he do? I can hear a lot of shit. I hear Trump being on TV talking about this is a witch hunt. I never slept with Stormy Daniels. I don't know who E.Jean Carroll is, but all of that shit was a lie, right?
Yeah, it does seem that.
Shit was a lie.
Well, let's speak on the E.Jean Carroll case, because most folks who support Trump believe she just made that up out of thin air. Why do you believe folks that support Trump automatically assume E.Jean Carroll's lying?
Because they want to believe the bullshit that they already believed. They want to continue to keep that facade because he can't have done that, right? Because Trump's this moral guy who the evangelists get behind because he knocked off Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade. He couldn't have done that. Trump's such a Christian. He's the greatest Christian. He's Orange Jesus. He was brought by God. I don't believe none of that shit. The reason that liberals don't get behind Biden like that is because we know, again, Biden was put in office by us. He is not Jesus. He is just a man we voted to do a job. He is not going to be no savior. No, he can't. Oh my God, he's the greatest president in the world. Hell no. There wasn't nobody the damn greatest president in the world. You know who the greatest president in the world was? Jimmy fucking Carter. And I wasn't even alive to see
what? Wait a minute. Oh, hold on. You believe Jimmy Carter, the peanut farmer, was the best president in American history?
You know why I give Jimmy Carter so much credit?
No, I don't.
All the way up to this moment, pretty much, Jimmy Carter is alive and still working to build shit back. You've never heard Jimmy Carter go outside himself, comment on people doing crazy shit and telling lies to people. You've never heard Jimmy Carter go out there and act a damn fool. You ain't never heard that. And I'm black. And of course you would say, oh, well, he a black person. Of course he say Obama. No, I wouldn't say Obama, because Obama's hands was tied behind his back, not only from the Congress, but from a standpoint of being an actual person. If a black man came out and just said, oh my God, I'm going to do everything, we're going to give these black people reparations, and we're going to do all this, do you know white America would have been to Obama?
It wouldn't have been popular. It wouldn't have been popular. But yeah, now I will say this real quick in regards to Jimmy Carter. The things you're pointing out are things he did as a citizen once he left the White House. But while he was president from 76 to 80, he's not considered by any means as the best president in U.S. history. You're giving him credit for all the morally correct things he did after he left office.
You're right.
Okay.
And the reason that I am doing that is because he did all those great moral things after he left office.
All right. So what about Trump though? Compared to Biden, do you believe that the 4 years we're living under now under Biden, do you really believe we're living better now? Okay, apparently, I don't know what my last caller said, but apparently some folks did not like his speech about Trump. Folks, we try to run a free speech program. Now, my last caller got taken down. You should be able to appeal that and easily come back, because you didn't say nothing that was that harsh. But I often point out that a lot of folks who do report and things like that is usually on the left. Obviously, anyone who reported my last caller came from the right. because he was highly critical of President Trump. So it happens from both sides, but I don't believe what I refer to as TikTok gods did that. That came from somebody in the comment section that did not like his assertion of Trump. And unfortunately, the app will often take folks down as out of an abundance of caution before actually listening or even reviewing what happened. So you should be able to appeal it and get right back in. And I see someone said he was speaking the truth, says Ronnie Owens. Wow, I didn't agree with him, but someone is a something. And I, SMDH, certainly agree with you. It's all about free speech here, folks. You don't have to agree or disagree, but I do believe everyone should be allowed to speak. Now, let me make it clear. There's a hell of a lot of places you can go all over TikTok, YouTube, social media in general, where everybody is stating points that you agree with. Just go there. If you don't favor free speech, you don't like hearing opposing opinions, unfortunately, I'm going to admit this ain't the place for you. Go to a platform where everyone is liberal and bashing Trump, or everyone speaking is wearing a red hat. There's a heap of places for individuals like that. But if you do enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle without anyone trying to block, ban, or censor you, this is where you should be. That's how the program has been ran from day one. That's the way it always will be ran. Looking in the comments, though, what you gonna say on Trump's verge of becoming a billionaire? If his Truth Social network goes public and he actually becomes a billionaire, so be it. I will call that out. I've talked about Teflon Don. In fact, the title of the notes I have for this particular live stream are called Teflon Don. The guy continues to, for his sake, fortunately for his sake, escape every damn thing that comes at him. So, look, if he becomes a billionaire because his network goes public, I will certainly point it out all day, every day. Thanks for the comment. Trump is sicko. How is he sick? What did Trump do to sick? Looking in the comments, answer this, don't run. Too fat to run. When was America great for you? I'm assuming you're asking the typical question that is often asked from, towards American, African Americans or blacks, whatever the hell you want to call us. Why would you have a MAGA hat up? When the hell was this country great for black people? I often answer this generally from blacks, and I'll answer it the same way I always answer it. When the phrase "Make America Great Again" has a different meaning, depends on who you ask. Oftentimes, it is the time when we had the nuclear family intact. People sat at the dinner table, had a conversation. People weren't staring at their phones, or the kids eating dinner in their bedroom, and the wife is over here and the husband's in the basement. Folks were actually together as one. Some folks look at it during a time when religion, Christianity, was observed by the family. Nowadays, we're straying further and further away from that. Patriotism. Folks were more patriotic in earlier times in America. So those can be the eras folks will point to when they say, when was America great again? However, when was America great for folks that look like me? Never. It never was. There is no time in history. What is this? March 2024? I don't even want to go back to yesterday. Every single day for a minority, things have gotten better and better. So there is no time in history that someone like me will want to go back to. Hopefully that answers your question. My humble opinion, "Make America Great" was not a phrase that was really even aimed at minorities. You weren't, not necessarily that it's trying to be racist or anything. It just was, you were an afterthought. That was not a phrase that took the minority experience into account. Looking in the comment section, then why choose the guy who will put you back 80 years, says a hot, throbbing brain. Well, we've had 4 years of Trump, and there's no evidence that we went back 80 years. I mean, what was 80 years? 1940? We've had 4 years of Trump. I didn't look at 2017 and see any resemblance to 1940. Trump left and we got a black vice president right after him. How does that 1940? No, you're going a bit hard. Judo Guido, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. We're living backwards. Possible. Judo Guido, good afternoon.
Hey man, appreciate being back on your show again. This is my second time. I feel honored to get a repeat acceptance.
In the sentiment is the same. I'm glad to have you here. So what do you think? Trump was right about everything?
The only thing he was right, and I would even question it, was his name.
What about now? Let me tell you. On YouTube, Eloy says the economy was better when Trump was in office. It sucks now. Was he right about his economic decisions compared to Biden?
Well, I mean, you look at it twofold. I think the economy and overall, I'm not saying that the economy wasn't bad under Trump. We didn't, like, it didn't.
Was it better? Was it better under Trump than it is now?
No, me personally, no. I'm making phenomenal money in the stock market. I'm doing extremely well. Our grocery stores are making record profits. Our airlines are making record profits. Our fuel industry are making record profits. That doesn't happen with a downgrading economy. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work that way. I mean, you can Google record profits on anything, any industrial thing, steel, aluminum, all TVs. It's all record profits.
But you're talking about record profits for folks that many on the progressive side of that, I would say you're talking about record profits for the rich. What about the general working class man? Is he making record profits under Biden?
Well, in order to be able to, that goes hand in hand. In order for those companies that have record profits, you got to have people to be able to afford that.
Yeah, perhaps I get you.
I mean, you know, in regard to, you know, for instance, eggs. That seems to be the most topic food item up there.
It was at the time. Yeah, it was at the time.
So, you know, doesn't mean the chicken cost anymore.
Good point. Good point.
You know, it's just the grocery industry was increasing the price on eggs, taking advantage of a situation of our economy, and sadly, you, me, and probably 511 people in this chat suffered for that.
Yeah.
But on the other side of the coin of that was President Trump or President Biden had no control over the price of the chicken or the price of the egg. They didn't control that. That's the industry itself. So
but why didn't the industries attempt to price gouge us under Trump? Why would they wait till Biden came along?
Well, in essence, they did. There was a new report that just came out that why we had such a shortage of something as simple as toilet paper. There was price gouging taking place in the industry when we couldn't get our basic necessity supplies during COVID.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a 6% increase in profits. That report just came out. Like, I just read most of that report. So that was part of the conversation I wanted to bring to light, was the industry was price gouging us.
So let me, because you're saying the economy is better under Biden. I want to take our conversation and pass it to those who are tuning in. Just one word in the comments: worse or better, in regards to how you're doing financially under Biden. I want to see folks tuning in. Type in worse or better. How are you doing under Biden as opposed to Trump financially? Worse or better? I just want to see in the comments real quick before we continue on. So there's a fair bit of folks that are saying better. Now, how do you feel about the fact that fuel costs more? You mentioned eggs. I mean, even though you're saying your salary is up, the dollar you spend at the grocery store, it doesn't go anywhere near as far.
True. Unfortunately, that is true. You know, it is. But I can't put that essence on the president himself, because no more than Trump, because they don't control the prices. The government, that's too much government oversight. Our problem is with corporations and companies taking advantage of certain set situations. And yeah, okay, maybe to a small degree, something increase in their costs, the reason why they have to bump up prices. But those evolutions have come back down. At one point in time, I can see, for example, UPS. Let's just throw that out there. They increased their rates because fuel costs were outrageous. It was $5-6 a gallon, right? So they adjusted and increased their shipping rates to compensate for that increase in rate. They're not paying $5-6 a gallon anymore. They're back down to $3.50, $2.99, depending.
And the rate stayed up.
Yes, it never came down.
Yeah.
You know, and then they had those record profits, right? They took an advantage of something, and then now their employees strike because they notice their company's making money and say, hey, we need a little bit of slice of that bread. And then that's where that whole strike came from. But the money was still,
So if you're suggesting the economy is better under Biden, and most analysts do as well, they even on the right-wing networks suggest that the economy actually on paper is better under Biden. Why do so few people feel that way? If you ask the average American, they seem to think otherwise.
Because they're looking from, and I agree with them, they're looking from their bank account, their wallet, their paycheck, right? Their employer is not passing down those profits to them. You know, so yes, the small person, me, you.
But that's exactly what I asked you in the beginning when you talked about record profits, and I mentioned that. I said record profits for the wealthy, but the average working man, and now you're suggesting that they're not passing it down to the people.
Oh, absolutely not. It's staying in their bank account.
Yeah.
It's the rich people's bank accounts.
Yeah.
You know, so it gives the perception that, and it's a good perception. I'm not saying it's a right perception, but it's a realistic perception, right? That, well, my paycheck is not going as further as it used to 3-4 years ago. But in reality, the paycheck and the economy don't always go hand in hand. And we're talking about the economy as a whole, and not maybe my paycheck.
All right, I got one other. This is before I move on. I got one other question. This came from Linda on YouTube. Now, her statement is it's more dangerous under Biden. Do you feel less safe as an American citizen under Biden as opposed to Trump? You feel your safety has changed at all?
No, I don't feel it's safe changed. I feel it's as safe as I was 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I mean, the only time I really, if you want to say I was felt threatened at all, was, of course, 9/11, when our shores were actually touched. But as far as my personal safety or the safety of my family, no, I don't see craziness. But every town is different, right? Her town situations may have changed and gotten tougher.
That is true. Yeah, it could be a local issue. I mean, certain cities, like for instance, what's going on in Chicago and New York with the immigrants being sent there. I mean, that's an artificially created situation too, by the way. So it could be, we feel different, you know, with all these folks and we don't know who they are under Biden than we did under Trump, but that is an artificially created situation. I got to move it on, though, Guido.
Appreciate it, my man. Thank you very much.
Absolutely a pleasure. Same. Don't be a stranger. Going back to the box, let me go ahead and solicit what I normally do, and that is ask you folks to tap the screen. I haven't asked that. 600 plus of you in here on a Saturday evening. Wow. Appreciate that. You could be anywhere. I'm glad to have you here with me for a short time. Tap the screen, if you will. Get your boy likes up to around 25,000. Helps out the algorithm. Brings in more MAGA. You know the program is and always will be MAGA friendly. MAGA are my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. What do we say? We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. The comments will go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon. We do believe in letting folks speak. It's all about free speech here. Never a case of trying to tell you what you should think. It's always about hearing what you have to say. That's how the program has been ran from day one. That's how it always will be ran. What do you look for in men? Says Ra. Shout out to the LGBT community. Just want to let you know, sir, I am an ally. Feel free to enjoy your life. Look at it also in the comments. Finally, I found a normal person on live. Robert, thank you for the accolade. Corporates can now buy pieces of the government and tax rights with it depressing or gladding. I don't quite get your comment there. All right, going back to the box. Appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. We'll go straight to Soul Buster. I've heard a chick say it can steal your soul. Haven't heard somebody say it can bust your soul. Soul Buster, good afternoon.
Hey, Tim.
Hey.
Good afternoon. Let me get this channel down a little bit so I can talk to you. It's amazing that we always scream and holler about the cost of living. I remember doing it just as your previous caller just said. I remember during the COVID period, we were scrambling, getting up early in the morning, trying to get in line at Costco and Sam Club and some of the other wholesalers to try to get just the mere necessities.
Right.
Toilet paper towels, disinfect, things of that nature. Well, even during that time, I saw the rise of it continue to escalate. You know why? Supply and demand. And that happens no matter what. And just as your previous caller said, we want to blame our presidents for the cost of living. It's not them that are causing this inflationary cost. It is the greed of corporate America.
But I have to push back on that. If you're correct, if you are correct that it is corporate greed, corporations, you got a loud background, I don't know what's going on, but corporations have been greedy since the beginning of time. Why did they not do that under Trump? Why did they stay in place and wait for Biden? Is he a weaker leader?
That was not the issue, Tim. And trust me, it was definitely not the issue. You got to remember, Tim, what did we do? We were hunkered down. At least I was. Very seldom did I go anywhere. Very seldom did I spend an exorbitant amount of money anywhere. Once things started opening up, the supply and demand had to catch up with what we wanted. And
let me clarify it. Just like Trump is promising to impose 100% tariff on vehicles coming out of Mexico that were put there by the Chinese dollar, is it possible that if Trump was president during the time of corporate greed you're talking about, he would have made similar threats to the corporations to get it under control?
There was no need, Tim. Who was buying cars? Why in the hell are you buying a car?
I'm not talking about cars. I mean everything. He could have made...
I'm just saying. Okay, I'm just saying. And you brought up the mere fact about cars. The car I have now was manufactured in Canada. But it's a U.S. Corporate car. It's a Ford. Both of my vehicles are Fords. And they're manufactured, and when you looked at the sticker, they were manufactured in Canada. What's the big deal? I still can afford it. I have no problem if that's what I want. I buy what I want.
Yeah.
And Tim, let me run this by you right quick.
Sure.
I remember this, and I think I'm a tad bit older than you, Tim. I can remember when my grandmother used to tell me that the cost of bread, like 7 cents, they pretty much got milk was less than 6 cents. I remember the first vehicle I had, Tim. A gas was like 11 cents.
Oh shit, you way older than me. 11 cents a gallon?
Well, and that's what I'm telling you, Tim.
Oh shit.
Everything takes its necessary proration as we go.
Wow.
Wages went up, okay? Everything went up. Cost of living went up. Materials, people started, especially after World War II, this country formed what they call was a middle class, where only the husband went to work and mothers was able to stay home and raise the kids. Now with the cost of people wanting now to drive German-made cars, Italian-made cars,
our standards have went up.
Our standards have escalated, Tim, and the one family income does not exist anymore.
Yeah.
You just don't find it. So if you want to enjoy the amenities of life, rather than having someone to pass down mega bucks to you and you're given a silver spoon, you're going to have to do great investments with your money, which I did when I was in the working theater. And also now, Tim, I can go where I want to go. I can do what I want to do. I don't worry about the cost. And I'll put this. There's a large chain supermarket. I remember when I could go in with the same amount of money I'm now, and I came out with a basket full of food. Yeah. I go in there now, and maybe I may come out with one bag. But here's the thing, Tim. I came out with what I wanted.
And I came home and prepared it. Or if I didn't want to do that, just like this afternoon, my lady and I, we're going out to have dinner. I don't care about that. The one
Yeah, but you're speaking from a standpoint that most younger Americans, working Americans under the age of 40, what you're saying is foreign to them. Biden is losing young voters because even they are looking at it like they can't comfortably do the things you're saying you can do. They're saying the price of everything is putting them in a poorhouse.
Tim, when my wife was living, both of us worked. Grandparents looked at the kids after school. We made the necessary sacrifices when we were young. Everyone is not going to get a corporate job.
Well said.
And only
I agree
have
with
to
that.
worry about taking care. It is set up now, Tim, where you must invest your money. The money has to be invested for the future. You just don't go out there and dig a hole and there's buried treasure. Or you don't, like my grandmother used to tell me, money doesn't grow on the tree. You don't go in the backyard and pick off money and then go do what you got to do. There are things that you have to make preparations for. If you're young now, starting in the job field, or if you're trying to become an entrepreneur, you're going to have to take those pains. But in the future, it's going to benefit you. No one automatically just opens up the chest and it's full of doggone happiness. No,
I like that.
You're gonna have listen. You're gonna have to make those necessary sacrifices. And if you look at the way your parents sacrificed to do the things, they had to go through that same doggone steps that you're gonna. No, everybody wants to say, okay, I want my kids to have a.
We want it, yeah. We want instant. We want instant gratification.
Send them to college.
We want instant gratification.
To trade schools. That's why you tell them, listen, if I had to start all over again, I would become if I had to start over tomorrow, Tim, you know what I would do? I would be an air conditioning and a refrigerator repairman. You know why? No freaking body in this United States want to live in a hot house.
No.
Okay? So the first thing you're gonna cut, if it's 3:00 in the morning, your air condition break, what the hell are you gonna do? Is there a 24-hour service? You're calling somebody.
Yeah.
Okay? Nobody wants to go without plumbing. I remember the time when they had outhouses. Nobody wants to go to a freaking outhouse now. Everybody wants to flush a toilet and it goes down.
All right, I do got to move it on those Soul Buster, but yeah, you hitting up real quick.
Yeah.
All right, appreciate it, man. All right.
Hey, man, I appreciate you bringing me out, Tim. I love you, man, because I always listen to you. I like the people that you bring up, the points of interest. But the one good thing about it, hey, Donald Trump and democracy cannot stay in the same house.
Damn.
You gotta go.
All right. Wow. Is there anyone that believes that? Donald Trump and democracy cannot stay in the same house. Wow. That last statement, yikes. Oh, let's hope that's not true, because Donald Trump could be our next president. What say you? So, before we go back to the box, the actual top, wow, that was hard. That was really hard at the end there. I do agree with my caller. We do need to educate our urchins, our young children, a little bit more on finances in schools, because a lot of things he's talking about, planning for the future and knowing that you have to work hard and nothing's going to be given to you instantly. They don't teach a lot of that in schools. So folks do make bad financial decisions for the first years of their adulthood. I did myself personally, so I know that. So that part I do agree with. Donald Trump and democracy cannot live in the same house. Whoa. Soul buster. Just bust my soul with that ending statement. Democracy is mob rule. Democracy is evil. We have a republic for that reason, says Lee. Democracy is evil. I think you're really getting technical, but I would love to see you elaborate on that. It's got nothing to do with it's got nothing to do with what people want or where they live or how cold they are. It has to do with the U.S. Federal Reserve skimming money off the top to give their parent company. That might be a little bit deep right now. Let's go back to the box. Conservative Rich, we're asking that question. Was Trump right about everything. You hear that statement made often. Rich, good afternoon.
How we doing, Handsome Tim?
I'm doing good. Good to have you back. Trump was right about everything. What say you?
Oh, man, I got a whole list. I've been listening for a while here.
Let's talk.
Trump was not right about everything. You can't possibly be right about everything, but he was pretty right.
Okay. Let's take some of them. Now, folks believe that the E. Jean Carroll accusations are completely fabricated. Why are they just giving him the benefit of the doubt? How do you know he didn't violate her in some way or another?
I think those accusations are hard to prove. I mean, it's a tough one. You know what I mean? You got to have some sort of physical evidence.
But they're not saying it's hard to prove. They're saying that she lied.
Well, I mean, it's just people just want to go after this guy. You know what I mean? They just dig people out of like 50 years ago and like, look, and it's just miraculous how everything comes after all this time. You know, now that this guy's facing Washington, you know.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, though, Rich. When folks went after Bill Cosby or Kevin Spacey, nobody was saying. I mean, there's a lot of folks that don't came out years later and accuse somebody of violating them sexually. The Catholic Church has dozens of people that happened to. Only when it came to Trump,
maybe.
Huh?
Maybe the number, you know. I don't know. Not enough people. Maybe if 12 people came out and had like certain, you know.
So wait. So you're saying you need more than just E. Jean Carroll?
No.
What are you saying?
I'm just saying it's hard to persecute someone based on accusations. Accusations are accusations, right? So if we're going to start persecuting people based on accusations, we're in a world of trouble.
Yeah. So then let me ask it to you this way. How do you feel about Trump stating what you said, where it's just a wild accusation she's making or she's trying to take me down for nefarious reasons? I don't know who the hell this lady is. And then she presents pictures of them together. Does that hurt his credibility at all?
You know, to try to remember who people are, you took a picture. I could sit here and defend silliness all the time, but I want to talk about more important things like democracy rhetoric and why young people are suffering and with the inflation numbers and, you know,
I mean, we can get into that, but we can get into it.
I don't want to really defend Donald Trump because who can?
Well, you said he was right about most things.
There's more pressing issues in this country.
Well, it depends on who you are. Some folks, those things mean. I mean, he's going to be our next president, possibly.
Well, perhaps there's some perspective on why so many people support him. It would come through other dialogue. Okay. You know, and not just directly talking about him. Because if you start to actually have dialogue, fair dialogue, you'll start to see that Donald Trump really doesn't even matter.
Explain. What do you mean by he doesn't matter?
He's a pimple on the problem. Well, like you said in the audience, somebody in the comments said democracy is evil.
Yeah.
And you have to. Could you even understand why that?
No, I cannot.
Right. So that's an important thing. This is a constitutional republic for a reason. The founding fathers did everything they could to prevent us from being a democracy, because in a democracy, majority rules. And in a republic, the minority is protected from the majority.
Wait a minute, hold on. You said in a democracy, majority rules. In a republic, the minority is protected from the majority. You're telling me the founding fathers was looking to make sure the minority was protected from the majority? I'm assuming I wasn't part of that conversation as a minority, was I?
No doubt. But this is where you got to start learning and figuring it out and see what's up.
Yeah.
Right? So what it is that you have God-given rights from birth, right? You're an American citizen. These are your rights. Nobody can violate those rights. Doesn't matter if 99% of the people disagree with the Constitution or the rights you've been given. That doesn't never change.
I could not disagree with you more, because when you look at the Constitution, when you look at when it was adopted in this country, the idea that you're given rights that no one can take from birth didn't apply really to anybody but straight white males. Everybody else,
that's not true.
Huh?
That's not true.
Everybody was. So you looked at the Constitution.
All citizens.
You said what?
It's all citizens.
Okay.
All Americans.
So you believe everybody in this country, when the Constitution was adopted, all were treated equally, all had rights.
I believe that we had the practice of slavery, right? And the people who were slaves were actually considered. If you read about like any of the founding fathers, they explain how slavery was actually a private right, a property rights issue.
Yeah, but it's not just slaves. Women couldn't even vote. Native Americans damn near didn't exist. They weren't slaves. If you weren't,
a lot of people who feel like in the original 10 amendments is everybody's protections, and everything after that was just actually government empowerment.
Yeah.
And if you kind of read some of that stuff, it's deep.
Yeah. I look at, yes, you and I definitely, you and I definitely disagree. And I'd say certainly going back to the late 1700s when the Constitution was adopted, or even throughout the 1800s, if you were, someone that looked like me, or if you were a Native American, or if you were a woman, hell, if you were a white man that did not own property, there's no way I believe that you had rights from birth that nobody could take away. That doesn't make sense to me.
This is what the founding fathers intended.
The guys who owned slaves.
Yeah, no, the Constitution limits the government and empowers the people.
Yeah.
That's what you're conserving. That's what constitutional conservatives are conserving.
Yeah.
Can I say when America was great?
Sure.
Before the politicians got crazy and the journalists covered for them.
When was that?
When was that? I don't know, man. I hear it's been going on like 60 years, so before my time.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you once again, 60 years ago, I don't want shit to do with that. There's nothing good back there.
No, and you have a right. You have a reason to say that.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? But you can understand why people want to unwind the big government and get those journalists honest again.
Yeah, and I will say this. I totally understand it, which is why I tell people that as a defense on the hat is that phrases like "Make America Great Again," there was a time where America was great. But it's being viewed through a bottleneck, so to speak, tunnel vision. Other individuals, their experiences are not being considered. It's like it was great for people like me, or for things that I believed in, or for Christians, for instance. It's not taking into account the fact that we are a diverse country and other people are listening to it. It's focused on one particular aspect.
I think it really is that when the government wasn't spending so much incompetently, and when the journalists weren't saying, hey, these guys are the answer to every problem.
Yeah, but that's nothing, though, compared to what some of these folks were losing. If you're LGBT, you couldn't even tell nobody you were back then. They don't care about fiscal spending and big government. They couldn't even exist.
In my opinion, America's like wine, right? I mean, we just get better with age, right? No doubt. We're evolving.
Yeah.
We're evolving citizens.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, no doubt we've gotten better with age. But I think when you say you want to go back about something, when you're talking about politics, it's definitely against this empowered government that's spending way too much accomplishing nothing.
All right. And I don't disagree with the notion that our government spends too much, but I will say this, and I say it often, that a lot of the big government policies we have, a lot of the three-letter organizations that we created, is because when things were left up to the people, when we were left up to our own devices, we didn't do right. I mean, whether you're talking about the FDA, where folks are telling you that cigarettes were healthy for you, if you didn't have the Food and Drug Administration, people would sell you all kinds of drugs and tell you it's great. EPA, dumping waste products in your backyard and telling you it's harmless. You need those three-letter organizations, which is big government, because if you leave the people to their own devices, they'll screw you over every time. You don't see any of that?
I see how anybody with power can be corrupted.
Yeah.
And that's big government, big business, everybody needs oversight.
Yeah.
Everybody needs oversight. We need transparency across the board. All these industries that are feeding us, that are creating our medicines, that are creating our energy. Everybody needs oversight. Everybody, I believe in all the three-letter agencies. I just feel like we can do a better job. When you look at the numbers, it just doesn't add up to the people that are hurting, that have been hurting for all these years that we've been promising to help.
I don't know. My point is this: if I believe that there is plenty of corruption in government, but I do believe we're better off with it than without. I would rather take,
Absolutely.
I would rather, just like unions, we're getting rid of unions because unions were getting involved in politics. Folks didn't like union dues. They thought they were corrupt. Look at the salaries for the American workers now that we've gotten rid of unions. Taking 2-3% of your salary when you're going to make, 20-30% more in income. We've gotten rid of unions. I don't see employees bragging about how great it is now. So I would rather have a little bit corruption with someone that is, performing oversight than to get rid of it and then just really let people have their way with you.
I think since the government is the oversight, what we could do is just flush them out quicker, right? I mean, if we let them sit there for 30 years, they gain these relationships with the people they're supposed to have oversight over, and now they're all cushy. If they were in and out in 4 years, they wouldn't have time to make those relationships. It would be a new guy. It'd be somebody. This is public service, not a career choice.
Yeah, you're never going to get that.
Teachers, and everybody can be involved in politics. Construction workers, teachers, postmen, the grocery store worker. Everybody can be involved in politics because what you need is honest people who want to do the right thing.
Fair enough. You're talking about term limits. I do got to move it on, but you're talking about term limits. That is something common. I'll address it on the other side. But Rich, appreciate you coming in.
Hey, thank you.
Anytime. My whole spiel on term limits is, I'm just going to say flat out, I'm against it. I'll tell you why. Now, my last caller was against big government oversight. The only way you get term limits is for big government to prevent you from voting for who you want. Here's the reason why I disagree with term limits. You already have it. If you don't like Mitch McConnell continuing to get elected as senator in Kentucky, or Nancy Pelosi continuing to be a congresswoman in California, don't vote for her. You don't need big government to tell you who you can and cannot vote for. Just don't vote for him. Mitch McConnell has continued to win in a blood red state. That's not liberals electing that guy. You got folks on the right yelling term limits, but then when it's time to vote, they keep voting for the same guy. You don't need big government to tell you to stop voting for him. Just go there and vote for the other guy. So I'm not a fan of inviting big government to put limits on who you can and cannot vote for. You have that power right now. Don't tell me you got term limits where you want term limits where you keep electing the same person over and over again. It doesn't make any sense to me. Looking in the comments, a vote for Trump is a vote for America, says Dynasty Shot. Here's the counterpoint I have on that. I believe we're currently in such a divisive climate that I don't believe a vote for Trump or Biden is a vote for America. I believe both sides, and I'll say Trump in particular because he orates it very well. He's focused on his base. A vote for Trump is not a vote for certain groups of people, certain cities. If you live in a shithole, he's not running to fix your town. So I don't believe that a vote for Biden or a vote for Trump is a vote for America. A vote for Biden or a vote for Trump is a vote for your interest, your best interest. But they're not running for the country as a whole. I just don't believe that at this point. We know what different groups have different. We know that different groups have different interests. There's plenty of things that if you consider that to be important or a major interest, it makes no sense to vote for Trump or to vote for Biden. What's being discussed? The Second Amendment? Or a woman's right to choose, perhaps Christianity in schools, perhaps shutting down the border. You know, if you favor one of those issues, if it's super important to you, who you should vote for, period. If you believe asylum seekers are coming from a bad place and they should be allowed into America and that they will do jobs that no Americans want, and you think that's good for America, you have no business voting for Trump. If you believe there's too many and the border needs to be shut down, you have no business voting for Biden. So, and there are Americans, plenty of them, that believe both sides of what I just stated. So, yeah, you're not voting for America if you're voting for Trump or for Biden. A vote for Trump is cast by a traitor. Damn, that's a bit harsh. Nathan Wilbanks Was Trump right about everything? Nathan, good evening.
I don't think anybody's right about everything.
Most things.
I liked his presidency, but I'm a little disappointed in how COVID was handled. If I want to say,
What do you think he did wrong?
Well, I don't know that he necessarily had as much control over it as many people think he did, but and this may not even be related to Trump. I'm sorry, my dogs are growling.
Yeah.
But I personally think those vaccines came out far too quickly. I think there's a lot of shady stuff going on with the Pfizer vaccine, that apparently they tested one vaccine and then they released another. Did you hear about that?
I've heard listen, like I said, I go left of Q, I go left of Bernie Sanders from having dinner with Q. Now, I had folks tell me I would be dead in the winter of 2021 because I told them I got vaccinated. I've heard so much stuff. I have yet to have a magnet stick to my arm, but I've heard folks tell me, I don't know what to believe. Nathan, I hear everything.
It's pretty hard, but apparently there's definitely cases, not everybody's going to get hurt by them, but apparently there are doctors out there that are treating, people that have been hurt by them. So,
but there are doctors out there treating people who were hurt by Tylenol. Everything has a side effect. I mean, we've had over 150 million people in this country that have been vaccinated. Half the country has been vaccinated. If it was that bad, you should have hellified data samples. It shouldn't be a few people here or there. It should be tens of thousands of folks that are being affected.
You should, but it would depend on whether or not you trust their reporting of things.
So you believe that potentially, when you talk about a data sample size of 150 million people, you believe millions of folks are being negatively affected by the vaccine and they're able to hide all of that?
I don't know if it's millions of folks, but they're calling it post-COVID, right? You got post-COVID. You had COVID, now you have post-COVID, right?
Okay.
Well, that could easily just be side effects of the vaccine too.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it necessarily is, but I don't know necessarily that it's millions either. But if most of the media wants to push a narrative that the vaccine was the right move, then that's what they're going to push.
Let me ask it to you this way. Do you believe America and the world as a whole, because most countries have citizens that have been vaccinated as well, do you believe the planet would have been better off if we had never given folks those vaccines? I think it was Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson for a short time. Do you think we would have been better off as a human species if no one had been vaccinated once COVID was discovered?
Well, I don't know that I could say that. But another thing that was pretty shady about it was that, those pharmaceutical companies, they made a lot of money off of that thing. And then they turned around and buy their stocks back. And, that had
Yeah, I don't disagree that there's going to be corporate, going to be pharmaceutical corruption and things like that. But what I'm trying to get from you is, was this planet better off being vaccinated or not? We can talk about there's cases of folks getting sick, things like that, folks using it to make money, but were we better off getting vaccinated, or we have been better off never having experienced it?
I don't think that it would have mattered either way. I think we would have been the same with or without the vaccine, because what I think about is the polio vaccine, right? We learned about the polio vaccine in history class. That took a long time for them to develop, and surely a lot of people did die from polio, but I would argue that polio was a much worse disease than COVID,
The vaccine came out a hell of a lot faster with COVID than polio, so yeah, polio was worse.
And that's what sketches me out about it, is that they even told us they rushed it. It was a rush job,
Yeah, people were dying.
Anytime that you were gonna rush something like that, mistakes are gonna be made, and if the government is sponsoring something like that, or if they're pushing for something, they're pushing a narrative like that, they don't like to be wrong.
Yeah.
They don't.
The whole world, though, because we didn't just vaccinate here in America. The whole world features countries that have vaccinated their citizens. Did no one have a leader that thinks like you did and said, "Listen, it'll just go away on its own," or herd immunity, like someone is saying on YouTube? Is there any leader in this on this planet that figured maybe we shouldn't vaccinate folks. It was too quick. Let's just see how long it'll take for us to just get over it. Is there any country on the planet that tried that?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
No. Does that say anything to you that in unison everybody came to the conclusion that this is better than doing nothing at all?
Well, not everybody came to that conclusion.
I just asked you, is there any country on the planet that...
You're talking about their leaders and, you know, the mandates and things, but like there were plenty of people in America that didn't want to take the vaccine. In fact, many people still haven't taken it, you know. And
there are people in America that take fentanyl. I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the government where they're listening to experts. Is there any country, and every country has medical experts and people to consult with, is there any country that listened to their experts and came to the conclusion that we should not take this?
Probably not, you know, probably not.
Yeah.
But the experts, you know, I believe that these experts are incentivized to push these drugs. It's just like Ozempic, you know, like this pharmaceutical complex, which involves doctors and hospitals and pharmacies and PBMs, like their job is to push drugs, right? And so if they see an opportunity to push a drug across the entire globe, you know, whether it was needed or not, you know, and I'm sure, you know, I don't have the expertise to tell you if it was certainly better off or worse off for the planet, you know. But what I do know is that as soon as they saw the opportunity, they were going to push it regardless.
I don't disagree with that at all. But like I said, if you judge the validity of a drug based on pharmaceutical greed, no drug in existence would qualify. Every drug that's out there, whether you think it's good or you think it's bad, every drug out there has somebody behind it pushing it to make a bunch of money off of it. That's the capitalist system.
Most of them do, I think. I think most of them do, man. Because like, just look at the Ozempic thing right now. Look at what they're trying to do with Ozempic. That's scary stuff right there. Look at what they're trying to do with the puberty blockers and everything, which, you know, for kids and things. That there's no studies.
They did it with Viagra. What I'm telling you is that
also with the heroin crisis or the opioid crisis and ADHD medicine, it's the same type of stuff. It happens.
They do, but Nathan, you know? That's the point. Nathan, the point I'm making to you is, this is a capitalist country. Everything we do is pushed on you to make money, whether it's an electric car or drugs. That's not unusual. Even if the drug is 100% effective, somebody is trying to push it on you to make a bunch of money. You can't judge a drug on that, because in a capitalist system, people are trying to get rich. That's just what happens.
Right. So I guess I'm just, my position is most drugs, you know, or most doctors that default to prescribing drugs, you know, they probably should be looking at other ways to help you with your stuff rather than going to a drug immediately. You know what I mean?
Not when people are dropping dead everywhere. You don't have time to wait and do the traditional testing. That's why you're saying polio was much worse than COVID. Is because with polio, people were just dropping dead for longer. They didn't have the technology. With COVID, you're going to rush things when everything is shut down. You can't travel globally. People are dying everywhere. It's going to be done quicker than something. I mean, people are dying everywhere. You expect it to take
Let me ask you about this. What about the alternative treatments that were ridiculed? You know, like, what's that other drug? And I can't remember the name of it right now. But, you know, the media was like, oh, this dewormer, horse tranquilizer, whatever the hell they were saying. And as it turns out, you know, some of these other drugs that we've already had, you know, ivermectin, that's the one. Yeah. So like ivermectin apparently is extremely effective. And
I haven't heard that.
There are doctors, you know, in other countries that have been using it, and they had excellent, like 100% cure rates. Yep. And of course, you wouldn't hear that because, you know, the media pushes that kind of stuff down. They don't want competition. They don't want you to know if there's something else. There's some other alternative, you know, to
See, it would be one thing if we were talking about a particular neighborhood or a particular state or even a particular country. But in this case, we're talking globally. I don't see the media being able to squash someone that has a cure, as you're saying, 100% cure rate. If they don't want to make this known in America because they want to promote, Pfizer or Moderna, then I'll go to the Sahara where they don't have anything at all. I mean, that would get out. If you had someone that was doing things that well, that's why I asked you in the beginning, are there any countries where the leadership decided, let's do something else other than these vaccines? You're going to tell me every country had no access to 100% cure rate to some? No, they wouldn't know about that. That's where I have an issue with it.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, no, the leadership, no, I don't think there was any leadership that went against the whole vaccine thing. But there were doctors in certain places that did, and apparently they had really good success, and I mean, I wasn't there, but I don't think, I'm only where I'm at, just like you're only where you're at, you know what I mean? But
I'll just say this. Before the vaccines, I heard about what the death rates were. And we can talk about the media and things like that and what was being covered up in hospitals or whatever. We can say all that, but being from Chicago, when I have folks telling me a relative died and they can't book a funeral because the funeral home is overloaded with bodies, you don't need to tell me what the government is covering up or what hospitals are covering up. That funeral home director wants to make money. If he's telling you he can't take your services, he's not lying about that. And you got funeral homes all over the country saying that we got more bodies than we can bury. So folks were suggesting that COVID was not as dangerous as the media or as politicians were saying. Folks who make money on burying people ain't gonna lie. If they're telling you they're filled with bodies, people are actually dying. Same thing now when they're claiming that, well, they're not telling you the truth about COVID and there's probably a hell of a lot more deaths than they're letting on. Why ain't the funeral home still saying the same thing? You can easily bury somebody now. So clearly you can look at the people on the ground and see the actual truth. I'll give you the last word.
I just, you mentioned funeral homes, and I did remember a story that I saw the other, it was a while back. There was that funeral director that was doing that embalming, or whatever that process is. I don't know exactly how it all works. But they found all those weird stringy clots, or they've been finding a lot of those weird stringy clots in the circulatory system of their people that had died from
COVID. Is it one funeral home, or is it like I mentioned, like when I said Chicago, where you had a hard time burying somebody anywhere? Is it one funeral home finding clots, or was it like a whole city full of them?
I can't remember where this story came out of, but it was I guess it was just a funeral home that they had a lot of younger patients that had died suddenly of heart attacks, and they were doing I don't want to say it's an autopsy, but the embalming process, and they found these weird things. And I haven't looked at the story in a while, so to be quite honest, I didn't take notes on that before I came on here. But I don't know. It's just something that people they dismiss that kind of stuff. They don't want to look into that kind of stuff. But
you shouldn't have to, Nathan. I do got to move it on. But like I told you in the beginning of our conversation, we vaccinated half of the citizens in this country, 150. You shouldn't have to go on Google or somewhere to look up a story. There should be bodies every damn where. If you got, let's say, for instance, only 1% of the folks that are vaccinated had all the problems you're suggesting. You realize how many people, dead people, there would be all over the place? You wouldn't be able to hide. You got to go look it up. Tells you it's not that bad.
Right. I guess I can see that. Yeah.
All right. Got to move it on, Nathan. Appreciate you coming in. All right. Moving the program on. And listen, we do have these type of conversations, but, they say Trump never got a chance from day one. Neither did Fauci or the vaccines. Here's how I describe it, and I'll go right back to the box after this particular rant. By the way, tap the screen. Must be a slow program today, but tap the screen. I'm not getting the likes where I want them. Get me on up to 60,000. We can do that. 400, almost 500 of you in here. Same thing on YouTube. Feel free to smash that like button. If you prefer, if you enjoy civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle, without the host block, banning, or censor you, feel free to drop a subscription on YouTube or follow the program on TikTok. Here's the example I give. You guys can tell me if I'm wrong on this. Feel free to state that. I don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. I view the virus like a pilot. I mentioned this before. Let's say you're on a 747, these big jumbo jets. Both pilots are unconscious. They've eaten bad food or something has went wrong where both pilots are completely out of it. A crash is imminent. Another individual steps up from in the aisle and says, I have experience in flying. I've never flown a 747. I fly a 787 for Southwest, much smaller aircraft. But obviously I got a pilot's license. I know a lot about aeronautical sciences and things like that. So we put him in the cockpit. He's never flown a 747, but he has a background in aeronautics. He flies, he's a commercial pilot, just a different aircraft. Now in the aisles, we got a whole bunch of passengers with red hats on yelling, get him the hell out of the cockpit. He don't know what the hell he's doing. I'm looking, well, can any of you guys fly? None of them can fly. But this guy, get that 787 pilot out of the cockpit. He don't know what the hell he's doing. That guy's name is Fauci. That's how I view Fauci. No, he has never flown a 747. But he has experience. He's a virologist. He has experience in aeronautical sciences. This is what he does for a living. He flies airplanes, just not this one. Because folks suggest, well, he didn't know anything about COVID. No, but he is the virologist in the country. He's a leading virologist. You want me to get him out of the cockpit, put in one of those passengers with a red hat on, and take our chances there? Look, at the end of the day, if we have something that is unknown, we got to go with who has it the most amount of experience. I'm not saying that Dr. Fauci was a know-all, end-all. You want to put Trump in the cockpit? You think, as Trump stated, I know more about COVID than anyone. How about we put him in the controls? And you put your seatbelt on and wait for the oxygen mask to fall down. How about that? So that's the way I look at it, is that at the end of the day, we had a novel virus we didn't know anything about. Just like being on a 747, no one in the passenger section, no one has training on this. But passenger Fauci does have a lot of experience on 787s. Why not put him in the cockpit and let him try? Why are all the passengers with red hats saying, don't put this dude in there? Get me someone else. That's the way I view it. And right now it appears as if we may have landed. Yeah, there was some bumps and bruises, a little bit of turbulence. Some passengers are complaining about a sore arm here or there, but he actually landed the plane. The plane actually did land. I don't get it. Listen, if I saw someone suggesting someone who was more educated, had more experience in COVID, as a COVID history, which no one did, perhaps. But as far as I'm concerned, Dr. Fauci was probably the closest we had to a 747 pilot. That's why I tend to have went with him. Maybe I was wrong. Looking in the comments, I'm sticking with Trump, says Mr. Cole. Okay, we got Trump in the cockpit. I know more about 747s than anybody else. Okay, fair enough. Trump showed you how much he knew when injecting disinfectant. What did Trump say? From what he had heard, it would go away on its own by April. He turned around, looked in the cockpit. Don't worry about it. Within a few miles, it'll land itself. Would you feel confident? Just close the cockpit door. 2 pilots slumped across the seats. It'll land itself within a few miles. Don't worry about it. Going back to the box. We'll continue on with King. I don't know who I just put up there. King, good afternoon. What is this spider behind you? King, good afternoon.
Ooh, let me back. What's going on?
Not much at all. Good. We're talking about Trump being right about it. What the hell just happened? Trump ate too many times. I don't know what happened with King, but what about bringing light bulbs inside of people? Did Trump didn't say that, did he? To put a light bulb? No, you guys are being a bit harsh. You're being a bit harsh. Make razor wire great again, says Tommy Brown. Well, apparently we got some immigrants that come across the border with tools now. Hell, even the Hamas seem to have no problem negotiating barbed wire. I don't know if barbed wire is going to be effective enough. Ethan G. Sleeve. I don't know what happened with my last guest, but let's keep it moving. Trump disrespects our country and vets POWs. Some folks believe Trump is a guy for this country. Trump disrespects the country. Elaborate. What makes you say that? He said a fluorescent light inside of you. I do recall hearing Trump say something about a fluorescent light. Wow. Yikes. Our country is almost gone thanks to Biden voters. How the hell you get that? Inflation is a bit up under President Biden. So is fuel prices. So is the price of purchasing a house. The country is not almost gone. Are you crazy? We actually lived through a damn depression in the 1920s. It's nowhere near that. In regards to the country functioning so poorly under Biden that it's almost gone, let me see Americans sitting on their porch eating the rest of their dog because they haven't had anything to eat for 6 months. Let me see. Do you realize over in Gaza they're eating animal food and things like? Let me see Americans drinking out of the local river because the water treatment plant's been gone or has been ineffective for the last year or two. This country is not that damn dilapidated. If you don't favor the Biden economy, you can say that. There's a lot of folks that don't. But the idea, we just had a Super Bowl. It was filled to the brim. You know how much those tickets cost? Almost gone? Are you kidding me? You can actually say what you don't like about the Biden administration without going to another galaxy on it. That's Armageddon politics. That's what I refer to it as. If we go from Biden in a country that's almost gone, as you put it, to putting President Trump, what do you think, you're going to move out of the sewer to a mansion? You think that the difference in their administrations is that far apart? Where Trump is going to be in office in 6 months bragging about how great America is, but right now it's almost gone. You're living in Gaza somewhere, huh? That's insane. That is insane. Almost gone. BXX Live. Good afternoon. I mean, you still go to work, you still have a car, you're still enjoying yourself, you still got a TV at home. Almost gone. The country's almost gone, BXX. What say you?
Oh my God. I mean, that's just the most ridiculous. Bro, you know what, bro? I give you all respect because you have to sit up and listen to this stuff. And I know you go right, left. I hear you. I don't have the patience. God bless you for it. It's good to hear this stuff.
I like to let the people speak, but I do point out when they say something wild.
Generally, though, I agree with Bill Moore when he says, and I say this with utmost respect, Americans are generally stupid. And they choose to be stupid. I mean, you can tell Americans that because of the production Joe Biden has set for electric cars, you can only buy one type of tire for your car now, and they will run with you.
But let me respond to that. And I watched Bill Moore. In fact, I just watched his episode yesterday, this morning. But what I will say, I do agree with Bill Maher that a lot of voters are not very well educated. But this is why I have to hammer President Biden. If you know they're stupid, then go out and tell the folks what they want to hear. Trump says, I love the uneducated voters. He's doing very well with his people. Maybe if Biden would go out and talk to the people, considering that they're supposed to be stupid, you could easily sway them to vote for you.
Yeah, but you know what, bro? I'm going to say this. I would say in that respect, I'm like Biden. Because I can't go out and just lie to you just because. Or I can't dumb myself down enough for some of this silliness. I just can't. And he probably can't. You know, Americans are incredible. You hear them complain about illegal immigrants. I heard one show when a guy was saying, I live in a border town. And you haven't watched 1 million people cross the border in your town, son? I mean, why do you come with... That's the thing that I don't understand. These people just manufacture things. And they never, like your last guest, they never remember where they got anything Well, you know what the problem is? My grandfather used to say, it's an old saying, if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
Well, here's what I mean, and I'm not saying Biden should go out there and tell lies just because. I mean, you could tell the damn truth. Fact is, most what I want to call it, most analysts in regards to the economy say the economy is doing way better than folks on the right or Trump is stating.
It is.
Yeah, but go out and tell the people why they're saying that. Don't leave it up to them.
You know what? You're right. I agree with you there. He needs a junkyard dog with him.
Yeah.
If I was with him, I would go down and say, you know what? You're right. You were living better. You know why? It's because you got an extra $600 in unemployment because COVID was happening.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point. What I'm saying, exactly. You don't have to lie to the people. Just tell them the truth.
Right.
Here's another example. Like the statements I used in reference to COVID, where you're making a logical decision, even if you don't know the facts. Using logic should make you realize what you're hearing is not true. For instance, Trump is saying that Mexico did not send their best and brightest. They're sending rapists and murderers. Folks are saying that over 10 million people came in under Biden, vermin, poison in the blood. If 10 million criminals came in this country, you don't need to lie. Just ask, where's all the crime? There should be an insane amount of crime being committed by illegal immigrants. You don't need to lie at all.
You know what the problem is, bro? You're dealing with people in America who want to hang on to something from the past because they're afraid of the future. There are studies that say white men will become a minority by this date. They're scared of losing something that they never originally owned. They came in, they stole it, and they think the same thing is going to happen to them. So it's hard to use logic with people who do not want to reason. They do not. So you can't get anything through to them. This guy here is talking about the COVID vaccine. I had a minimum of 10 people in my family die from COVID. I couldn't go to the funeral. Because
you lost 10 people? You lost 10 people?
Yes.
Jesus.
10 people. I've had COVID 4 times. You know what saved me? It was after I had the vaccine. Wow. It was after I had I've had relatives who carried the virus, took it to an older relative, and that relative died.
Let me ask. Let me just hold on. Hold on. Hang on. I want to see. I'll let you continue, but I want to see by way of numbers in the comments. For you folks that are tuned in, we still have almost 450 on TikTok and almost the same number on YouTube. How many people, just by way of typing in a number, how many folks do you know personally that was lost due to COVID? This man saying those 10 people. How many people you know that were lost due to COVID? Wow. 10 people in your own family.
No. 10 was in my own family. The people that I know we lost was at least 30.
Jesus.
I'm talking about people from church, people that I knew, friends, relatives, associates, about 30. So when people talk about COVID, I don't get it. People were literally dying around you. I mean, what else can you say to Americans? I don't get it.
I don't.
Except but to say people do not want to accept change as far as being a mixed country, being a country of different flavors. They do not want it. So you cannot rationalize with these people. Only thing you can do is outvote them.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
Why do you think they don't want to believe what a lot of medical experts I mean, there are far more medical experts suggesting you get vaccinated than not. Why do you think it's such a pushback on that?
Well, bro, because it's what they've heard from their commander, from their God. You're talking about somebody. I don't know how you can make anybody your God, your candidate. Somebody who tells you they know more about everything than anybody. They've never been wrong about anything. They've never said sorry about anything. And this person is your candidate. So you're wrong every day. You're not perfect. But this person, I listen to people say, I will die for this man. They won't die for Jesus. They won't serve their country and die for their country. But they'll die for a billionaire who's now begging people to help him pay a bill. But he has plenty of money. Mar-a-Lago's worth $100 billion. But he can't get a $500 million loan from a bank.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't understand why more wealthy folks that support Trump are not helping. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, 464 million or whatever he has to come out.
You know why they're not helping them? Because they're
Damn. You telling me
They know that.
you telling me Trump is not trustworthy?
Come on. He's been turned down by 30 under. I work for a major bank in this country. Trump will never get a deal from us. Never. It will not happen. He will not pay you back.
Well, if he's so untrustworthy, why the hell do half the country want him to be president, in your opinion?
Because the way we started, Americans are stupid, and half of that half are racist.
Oh.
And they just don't want to see it. They do not. And you know the thing about Biden, I hate with Democrats. You got so many African Americans, Latinos, other people who are maybe Democrats or whatever. Oh, we're voting Trump. That Biden is super old. Well, you also have to realize that these Republicans realize, yes, Biden is old. What if Biden happens to die in office?
You got Kamala.
Guess who will be the president?
Kamala.
You think they want to see that? A black woman?
Well, I don't think they like the liberal ideology. They don't want to see anybody. I mean, you go on down the line. They don't want any of
They
them.
care about the ideology. They care about the color.
You make it sound, wait a minute. You make it sound like Trump supporters are racist.
Come on, bro. I appreciate the straight face you're showing.
Give me something to back it up. Let me, for the audience.
I'm gonna tell you what, bro. It's not just Trump supporters, because you know what? We're all a little racist.
Yeah.
We're all a little racist. So when I say that, I'm being serious. Except we're racist in a different way, in a way that we've been taught and how we've been treated. But think about this also, bro. Let's think about the Constitution. America is still one of the youngest countries in the world. We have one of the oldest constitutions because people do not want to change. Yeah. They harp on gun rights, right?
Yeah.
Why was the gun law put into the Constitution? It was put in there to help form a militia if we needed it in here, because we didn't have the powers we have now. And we didn't have refrigerators. We didn't have a Walmart to go and buy food. Most of the country was still hunting. But we got people in 2024 who are still harping on that same thing. That people can only say 1, 2, and 5. That's what they know nothing else about the Constitution. Nothing. I think the Constitution needs to be changed. It needs to be drastically updated to fit the times. Somebody from 1780 can't envision what would happen now. They tried. They did the best they could. Very intelligent men. But at a point, there's a point where that has to change.
Yeah, well, that is a progressive mindset where we need to evolve with the Constitution. But yeah, the traditionalists, the conservatives, they ain't having none of that. I got to move it on though, BXX.
All right.
Appreciate it, man.
Bro.
Good talk. Wow. Do some of you other folks believe that a lot of support for Trump is due to racism? So my last caller said, the guest is extremely woke. Guest lives for revolution. A lot of you folks are saying, no, it's not about racism. And I see some folks that are saying, yeah, wow, yikes. No, it's more that they are conservatives. I don't know. To me, if you are a true blue conservative, to me, someone like Mike Pence would fit more of your narrative. Trump is a populist. Trump has policies that can favor both sides of the aisle. To me, Trump is not hardcore conservatism. Trump is Trump. Trump is now the leader of the MAGA party, in my opinion, but I don't see Trump as, to me, Mitch McConnell, little bit of Mitt Romney, because Mitt Romney got that health care bill in this past in Massachusetts, but certainly Mitch McConnell would be what I would view as a hardcore conservative. Mike Pence, even though you guys have no love for these people anymore. But yeah, those to me are what I would review as a conservative. Tammy Green, thank you for the support. Thank you, Tammy, by the way. I do appreciate that. Thank you for the love there with the heart. Too scary to have Trump in office. What would scare you if President Trump is reelected? $2 gas, good job numbers. Some folks favor, no global affairs going on where countries are going to war. Why would you be scared with President Trump back in office? Romney is the only real conservative left, and he's on his way out. Mitt Romney is not running for re-election. Fancy Prancy. Haven't seen you in a while. Thank you. Trump doesn't control gas prices. True. True, but at the end of the day, regardless if gas goes up or down, we are going to blame the person that's in office for it happening. We hear that all the time. When the prices shot up, Biden ain't in control of the gas prices. You can't blame Biden for what the price of fuel costs. Minute the gas prices started coming down, guess who took credit for it? Biden and Kamala Harris. Even they don't come across as saying we're not responsible for it. When it goes down, everybody takes credit for it. So that's what we're going to go with. We were dying under Trump. Who was dying under Trump, Smith? Dog. What is your last name, Babbitt? You happen to be kin actually Babbitt. Who was dying under President Trump? Going back to the box and tap the screen, get me on up to 75,000. We got 400 plus of you in here on TikTok, certainly on YouTube. Don't jump, ain't gonna get selected. Don't, I don't know what that means. If Trump was a dictator, he would have never left. So these guys are wrong on that one. Sorry, says Titus. Well, some are going to push back and say Trump was trying to become a dictator and was forcibly kicked out of office. That would be the pushback on that. So continuing on, Joe Grimes, good afternoon. Trump controlled policies that forced gas companies into bankruptcy. So he worsened the situation. Haven't heard that one. Joe, good afternoon.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good. So the notion is Trump was right on everything. What say you?
I disagree. Yeah, the economy was better looking back, but the way he handled COVID, just the chaos every day, plus the dog whistle. He knows exactly what he's doing to get the racist part of his base out in full force. He's gotten to the point now where I think they own the Dixie flag, right? And I think when you see a pickup truck with a American flag on the back of it as a black male, you keep your eye on them. So they're also trying to take over, capture kidnap the American flag.
Now, are you black? Are you black?
Excuse me?
Are you black?
Yeah, I'm black.
Okay, so if you see a pickup truck with a huge flag post with a big American flag hanging out the back, you view that with skepticism?
Yeah, you keep your eyes open. You kind of look. It's similar now. It's getting to the point where it's similar to the rebel flag. It's almost close. You're like, you watch and look.
You view the American flag as similar to the Confederate flag?
Well, the people that are flying the Confederate flag, they always have an American flag right next to it. So It's almost like they're trying to kidnap the American flag. Wow. The Germans, the swastika wasn't, Germany didn't own it, right? Not Germany, but the Nazis, but they captured it. And I feel like the racist, that's what they're doing now with the American flag. You almost have to watch, keep an eye on them.
So let me ask you this. Let's say you needed gas or something like that, or needed to make a phone call. Car breaks down in a suburban neighborhood, and you look down the block, all the way down the block, every house has an American flag sticking out of it. You would view that with skepticism?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I would think twice before knocking on that door.
Damn. Our flag.
That's terrible, but that's what they're doing now. When you look at the rallies, look at the racist rallies, what do you see?
Yeah.
Rebel flag and American flag.
Yeah.
They're trying to, am I wrong? And Trump knows what he's doing. I feel like he's the dog whistle. He's not stupid. He's very smart. You're not a billionaire unless you're really smart. You don't make money in New York unless you're corrupt and smart. And he knows exactly what to say to get his racist base going.
Yeah, I see you mentioned the American flag. I see DOT in the comments. Dot in the comments said, I'm an Amazon driver and I do the same thing. So an Amazon delivery drivers say the same thing. That when they see that American flag, they actually are. Wow, our own flag is now being potentially viewed as being taken over by racists.
Yeah, they're kidnapping. They're trying to kidnap it. They're trying to take it over. They took over woke, right? I grew up in the 90s, 2000s, and woke wasn't what it is now. They own it now. We don't use it anymore. But But I'm saying the American flag, whenever you see a rebel flag, there's an American flag right next to it.
Yeah.
So as a black person, you look and you're nervous. You see it, you're like, is that a regular guy? Is that a veteran? Or is that a racist Trump supporter?
Damn. You don't, let's say, for instance, you're walking down the street, you see 2 or 3 guys coming at you with this hat. Would you view them with suspicion too, I assume?
100%.
Wow.
But now, getting the conversation, and because I'm not saying all MAGA supporters are racist.
Okay.
I'm just saying they have some racist ones there. You got to be careful. You don't want to be dragged down the street like so many other people. So you have to be careful just to stay alive.
Well, you paint a really depressing picture, but it's interesting, so we'll keep talking. If Trump is reelected, which there's a high probability of that happening, I mean, it could be 50-50, 48-52, but there is a good chance to be president. If he's reelected, what do you see America being like?
Well, the fact that he's not, the guardrails are gone, right? All his cabinet, the people in his cabinet were true Americans, right? So they kept him on track. He's not going to make the same mistake twice. He's going to go in there and he's going to fill his cabinet with extremists, people who are going to do his bidding. And he says what he wants to do. He wants to be a dictator. So will the price of gas come down? Maybe. But I don't think $2 gas is worth losing the country.
Wow.
I'm willing to pay $5 for gas. You know what's funny? I miss George Bush. Because
Wow.
at least there was with George Bush, and there was standards.
But there was war, unnecessary war with George. You think George Bush was better than Trump?
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
100%. Now, yeah, they've made mistakes, but I never thought they respected the Constitution. They respected law, and come on, the January 6th, that would have never happened with George Bush and the traditional Republicans. And I'm a diehard Democrat, right?
Wow.
But I never thought I'd see the day when a president would stand up there. Do you remember Michael Dukakis lost because he was in a tank?
Yeah, I do remember that, yeah.
The governor from Vermont screamed and lost.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now we have a guy up there with 85 felony indictments, and that's who we're going to vote for. Come on, Trump. If I'm a Republican, I'm happy. If I'm a Republican, I'll be happy Trump was in there. He got you your abortion ban, or got abortion struck down and affirmative action. So he's done great for them. But it's time to move on. Put a traditional Republican in, and let's get the train back on the track. This is ridiculous.
Then you said earlier, you mentioned terms like dog whistles, and you're suggesting that there's racism. What has Trump done, or what will make you say that? Trump himself, we're talking about not his supporters, but him himself. What would lead you to believe that he's intolerant?
Okay, well, January 6th, and we can go beyond that. We might hate the protest, right? But for him to grab his cabinet and walk out there with a Bible upside down, and was trying to use the military on the American people. I can go on and on. And when you listen to his cabinet members now, chief of staff, thank God they were there. Okay. They saved this country.
Well, as a black man, I want to ask you this. Now, this is, and by the way, Anna P., thank you for the super chat on YouTube. Anna wants me to ask you this, and this is a good question for being an African-American. She says, ask him if the First Step Act was a mistake by Trump and compare that to the 94 crime bill by Biden. Many are suggesting that when you're talking about racism, you look at Biden's crime bill incarcerating so many African-Americans that Biden is the one you should be putting the racism label on. What say you?
My son is graduating college, and he's thinking about law school. 95% of Trump's judges were white. 3 Supreme Court judges he put in were white. Not only white, but they're prep school white, right? They're not regular folks. They're prep school.
Okay.
Now, Biden's judges, 51% were black, because obviously he's trying to balance the scale. We're not black, but minority. My thing is, my son will have a better opportunity to better chance under Biden than Trump just choosing everything white. His cabinet, not only were they all white, but they're all, not his cabinet, but his White House, we're all blonde, blue eyes. Like, come on, it's Fox News.
but it's
have an opportunity. Go ahead.
But with Trump, you're suggesting that Trump, his entire cabinet, his interns, and all of them being white, and that mostly is true. But is that done intentionally, or is it that the folks he chose were the highest qualified, and they just happen to be white? As if, you know, it didn't happen deliberately. Just the people he picked were the highest qualified for the position, and they just happen to be white. You think it was a deliberate choice to pick all white people?
You look at the judges how many judges were turned away? Federal judges. He put. I mean, I think he had one of his cabinet's members' son. Never just graduated law school. He was going to be a federal judge. They turned him. The point I'm making is this: sometimes you have to go above and beyond. He gave me 3 Supreme Court judges, all from prep school, 2 white men and a white woman. Are you telling me you couldn't find an Asian conservative?
Bro, Clarence Thomas already was in there. You want another one?
What about an Asian? Representation matters. You can't find an Asian conservative. 95% of your federal judges, 285 white. Are you telling me you can't find a Latina, Asian, a Native American conservative? It's all white. And by the way, the only time we hear qualification comes up, it's when it's a minority or a woman.
So how do you respond? Now, Anna came back at you. She's saying that you, in her opinion, you're not answering the question, first of all, but she says that, what about policy? She's stating that, you know, when it comes to Trump, he funded folks like Al Sharpton, you know, there were hip-hop folks hanging around Trump, you know, he hung around Oprah. The idea that Trump is racist, she's bringing up that Trump has a hell of a lot of affiliations with black people. He's even claiming he used to date a black woman. Are you sure this man is a racist?
Yes, because he has the power. Now, when he was hanging out with black people, he didn't have no power. He couldn't put policies in that would affect my children. Now he does. And
wait a minute. Trump has been a real estate mogul his entire adult life. He did have power. He just didn't have political power.
Well, when I'm talking, I don't live in New York, so
okay.
Whatever he did in New York wouldn't really affect me. Now he has the power to affect the world.
Yeah.
Now is when he needs to be responsible, and he rely on every so often he blows the dog whistle. That's dangerous.
Give me a dog whistle. Give me one that you feel confident that Trump stated was a dog whistle to a particular group. Give me something he did.
We can do the famous one, right? They were what do you call it? They're good people on both sides. What is the other one?
You're talking about Charlottesville. Now, Trump suggested, I'll let you get the second one out, but Trump suggested the good people on both sides was in reference to non-violent protesters that were in favor of the statue and the folks that were protesting against the statue who were also non-violent. He's saying that there's good people on both sides.
He could have easily said both sides had bad people, and it would have been. I think that would have been perfect.
I don't think he could have said both sides in an incident like that at all. I think both sides alone is inflammatory, no matter what comes after it.
Right, you're right. The other day he retweeted. Probably a month or so, he retweeted something about I think black people. Majority of crimes are committed by blacks and so on and so forth. So there are little things. I should have been prepared. I didn't get a chance.
Okay.
I saw the alert and I jumped up and I jumped on. But the point is, I am not comfortable. I don't feel safe with him being president any safer. And I do miss the traditional Republicans. As much as I disagree with their policy, I do value the fact that they respect the Constitution 100%.
So what about safety? We talked about, folks are saying the crime rate has went up. Anna's pointing out, doesn't securing the border, wouldn't that be beneficial to your children because you don't have a bunch of unvetted foreigners in the country? For instance, doesn't staying out of war affect your children's upbringing? You don't have to worry about them getting drafted and things like that. Is Trump not more beneficial for the children of this nation?
Well, let's think about the war, right? He's obviously against Ukraine. We're sending billions of dollars in old equipment. We're not sending them cash. We're sending them old equipment. Their people are dying. So our kids don't have to. If Putin takes over, wins that war, and move the next country over, we're in it. It's NATO. Now our kids are going. So I'd rather send them our old equipment, have them fight, and have them be that buffer, so my children won't have to. So does he keep us out of war? Maybe, but we're not even sure because he set up the Afghanistan deal.
Yeah.
That was his deal.
Yeah.
Biden got on the hook for it, but it was his deal. He pulled us out of Syria, right, with the Kurds. That was terrible. Those are allies. So everything he did it for his best interest and not necessarily the country.
74 million people would disagree with you, though. I do got to move it on, Joe. I don't know. He still has a really good chance of winning. Biden's poll numbers compared to Trump, Biden is not looking all that great.
And that's true. And I think you know who they should? Governor Newsom. He sounds, I honestly feel this should be Newsom versus Governor of New Jersey that fell off. The governor of New Jersey, former governor of New Jersey.
You're not done with Chris Christie, are you?
Yeah, Chris Christie, I think he has the same policy. Hold on. Same policies.
Okay.
But at least he respects the Constitution. Nikki Haley, but at least I think she has some respect for the Constitution. I don't think Donald Trump gives two hecks about the Constitution.
To me, a liberal saying it should be Newsom versus Chris Christie would be like, a Republican saying it should be Kennedy versus Tulsi Gabbard or somebody like that. I mean, that sounds like a liberal fantasy. I got to move it on, though, man.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Talking to you.
Absolute, real good talk. Thank you. Scary, but good. The American flag being hijacked by racism. Wow. Scary, but I did enjoy the conversation. Looking in the comments, Biden said no constitutional amendment is absolute. That shows how he respects the Constitution. I don't know if constitutional amendments are absolute, such as freedom of speech. I mean, we all know, we enjoy the freedom of, here, I don't block business to any damn body, but there are consequences for it. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. So obviously freedom of speech is not absolute. Even to my beloved MAGA Second Amendment supporters, that's not absolute. You can't go out and get a nuke. I mean, you can only have so many, what is it, the right to bear arms? Armed drones, nukes, bioweapons, all of that's armament. Why can't you have that? Because the Second Amendment is not absolute. So I don't know if I disagree with Biden. I think the Second Amendment is indeed not absolute. Otherwise, you would be able to have any weapon you wanted, anything. And you can. And I don't even think many folks on the right believe you should be able to have everything you want. Wow. Pro Amador with the very kind super chat. Whether I agree or not with this channel, props for creating the conversation. Pro, you made my day. Thank you for your generosity. Wow, thank you. And I do try to deliver what I refer to as civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle. It can be challenging at times. A lot of you folks don't think I always know what I'm talking about. Perhaps sometimes I feel the same way, but understand, folks, I've never viewed this as my live stream or your live stream. It's always been our live stream from day one. That's how I view it. That's why I don't censor anyone. Even if you are highly critical of me, you hear me often read comments that are completely trashing the host because I believe in free speech just that much. Going back to the boxing, thank you for that. Pro Amateur, wow, thank you. Continuing on, we'll go to Big Daddy Tommy. Good afternoon, Big Daddy. Never thought I'd call another man that, but people are calling me handsome, so be it. Big Daddy Tommy, good evening.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. So, you heard the last caller?
Yes.
I'm gonna give you the floor. What say you?
Okay, first thing, Trump didn't do anything in Afghanistan. That was George Bush and
Yeah.
John McCain and Chuck Schumer.
So wait a minute. You're saying that Trump didn't do anything in Afghanistan. Nevertheless, we were in Afghanistan his entire term. You saying nothing happened that time?
Do you remember back in the early 2000s when they switched everybody from Lorsets to Lorcos?
Okay. No, I don't. Wait. What? Explain it. No, I don't remember that.
Back in the early 2000s, they took Lorsets and Lortabs off the market. They couldn't.
Oh, you're talking about the medicine. Okay, what about it?
Okay. That's because when George Bush and John McCain and Chuck Schumer went to Afghanistan and told them, okay, you want the Taliban out of here? We got you. But we get the poppy fields.
Wait. George, so you're saying that George Bush wanted to take over the control of the poppy industry in Afghanistan, heroin, basically. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, they did. That's when heroin came back strong in America.
So you see George Bush as corrupt. You basically saying he's a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't heard that one. So here's the issue I have, and I see folks in the comments actually agreeing with you. Wow, plenty of them. So here's the issue, though, because Trump also stated the Iraq War was the biggest mistake in U.S. history when he was attacking Jeb Bush, attacking his brother through Jeb Bush. Oddly enough, any Trump supporter that's probably over the age of 40, certainly 50, is responsible for George Bush being our president to begin with. The liberals didn't vote George W. Bush in. So do you find Trump supporters particularly at fault for giving this corrupt drug dealer 8 years in office?
Yes.
Yeah.
Our system isn't perfect.
True.
You can send an honest man to Washington, but don't expect one back.
Yeah. Let me ask you, what part of the country you're from?
Alabama.
Okay. I'm only asking because in the comments, UF Good said, I'll bet he's straight from Mississippi. So you're not from Mississippi, but it happens to be next door. So go ahead.
My next door neighbor.
Yeah. Now, in regards to the comment, Trump was right about everything. Do you see any validity to that?
I do. Do you remember during George Sr.'s funeral?
Mm-hmm.
When Jeb Bush about shit his pants with that envelope?
Wait. George Bush Sr.
Michelle Obama.
Keep going.
Michelle Obama, Jeb Bush, Hillary Clinton, all of them got handed envelopes.
What do you think was in it?
George Sr.'s confessions.
What?
George Sr.'s confessions.
You're talking about H.W. Bush, the late H.W. Bush.
Mm-hmm.
Confessing. And what makes you think this?
He confessed on his deathbed.
But if you only give it to people who ain't gonna get the information out to the public, it really ain't a confession. Real quick in the comments, someone said, "Have you seen the story?" No, I don't want to remove Big Daddy. Big Daddy, hang on a second, because they threatening to mess with you. Have you seen the story about migrants wanting to buy guns? They're claiming it's their rights. Anna P. with the super chat. No, they're not claiming it's their rights. A federal judge did rule that an immigrant caught with a firearm, an illegal immigrant, wasn't in the country with documentation, caught with a firearm, could not be charged with it. So a federal judge has ruled to some degree that the immigrants without documentation do have Second Amendment rights. What say you, Big Daddy, on that? An illegal immigrant being allowed to carry a firearm?
No. They can't even vet them at the border. How are they going to vet them to be plausible for a firearm?
Well, I'm going to ask you a question that I often hear, for us on the left, we get thrown, do gun bans work? I mean, if you ban guns, an illegal immigrant will just be to get one on the street.
Yeah. Well, I think all of these military age coming across the border have got weapons here waiting on them.
Well, we sure make that easy.
I think they're UN soldiers.
You think they're what? You're breaking up.
If you look at them, they've already got military haircuts. They're fit.
So you believe that at the very least the middle, what do you call it, the military age male, you believe folks are coming in this country to do us harm?
Yes.
What are you basing that on?
That's
What are you basing that on?
What I see.
So you see young military.
You look at them. They're fit. It's like a meme I saw the other day. It said if a man is running from war, he runs alone or takes his family with him. But if he's running to war, he goes alone.
That's gross. So when you say they're fit, I don't know if they're fit. We're fat, Big Daddy. We are fat in this. Everybody's fit, and they may be hungry. People in Gaza look fit compared to us. It ain't because they're doing exercise. They can't find anything to eat. I don't know. You see military age males that have a decent physique, and the first thing you think they're coming to hurt us?
Yeah, they're coming to do damage.
Wow.
If you're not sleeping with one eye open, you're way out of the loop.
Damn. That's frightening. What do you think Trump is going to do? You think he's going to take, I mean, how do you, because they're here now.
I'm hoping he's going to put them on the launching pad.
We got to, but hang on a second. You know, we have folks that are in this country that have came from places like Venezuela and China and Yemen that don't even take the people back. What do you do if you have an immigrant that doesn't have documentation, that doesn't qualify for any of the reasons you would be allowed to stay, like asylum, but the country they came from won't take them back? What do you do with them?
That's what that border wall is for.
They're here now, though. What do you do with the ones that are actually here?
Yeah, thanks to Joe Biden.
I get that, but that's not answering the question.
I don't know where to send them.
Yeah.
You know, I think their home country should take them back, but they won't because most of them are prison release.
Yeah. Now, here's an immigrant. Anna with the super chat says, I'm an immigrant from the Middle East, came here legally. And let me tell you, our enemies are eager to use the open border to their advantage. Now, she's saying something similar to you, that because you can get in the country so easy, if you have a vendetta with the United States, now's the time. So sounds like both of you folks believe that a hell of a lot of enemies are coming across the border.
Yes. They show it every day on the news.
Yeah. How do you respond to folks in the comments like Keith that says physical barriers don't even work? If you put up a wall or a fence, they're just going to cut their way through or crawl right over or climb right over it.
Well, when steel don't work, lead works.
Oh my God. What do you say, the Berlin Wall? You're going to shoot immigrant? You are okay with shooting an immigrant coming here illegally?
If they're willing to cut that wall to get through, they would be willing to cut my throat.
I don't know about that. So if you see a woman and child, let me take it down a notch, because I know you mentioned military age male. Let's say you're guarding the wall, you got your binoculars, you got your rifle, you're on the tower, or wherever, out in the middle of the desert or whatever, you got your night vision on. You notice a mother or a woman, we'll just say a woman because it may not even be her kid, but you see a woman with a young child, and they pull out some bolt cutters and they're cutting the fence to get in the cut. You're okay with putting a round down range at her?
No, I wouldn't shoot a woman or a child. Okay. I would arrest them when they came through.
Okay. So what if it is a woman, child, and a man with them, which could be either a coyote or it could be the child's dad? Now we got a military age man. You going to put a round down range at him, the father, potentially?
Absolutely.
So the child and the wife potentially get to see their husband and father perish right there on the spot.
Hey, they rolled the dice when they left their home country.
Damn. So how do you respond to folks who say you don't sound to have any sympathy for someone's plight? You're killing people.
I have sympathy for somebody's plight, but I've got a 4-year-old granddaughter that I worry about what's going to happen to her. She is my priority.
But there's no evidence, Big Daddy, of folks coming in this country and doing things to kids. They don't, I mean, we got allegedly 10 million folks. Go ahead.
Ask Lake and Riley's daddy.
One person. We got allegedly 10 million immigrants that has come to this country. You think that majority didn't want to? Go ahead.
They're finding bodies everywhere.
They are?
They don't all make the news. Some of them's in the deserts in Mexico.
And they're all...
These people,
go ahead.
These people have no respect for human life or well-being.
Let me ask you this last question before I move it on. And wow, someone said that, no, pro-amateur, man, pro-amateur, damn. And these super chats are very kind. You mentioned, now, he's on the other side of this issue, and he's probably closer to my opinion if I can bring up his statement, because he's talking about the issue with mass deportation, which is what Trump is promising. It sounds like you want. Says the scary thing about mass deportation is an army of National Guard going door to door. And that's the point I'm talking about. If you got 10 million in here under President Biden and you believe they're here to harm your 4-year-old daughter or to essentially try to uproot the government, do you not see innocent people getting killed in that?
No. They come knock on your door. If you don't have any illegals in your house, you're fine.
What if you don't answer it? What if you say, listen, I have a 4th Amendment right that goes against unwanted searches and seizures. Damn it, I'm not telling you what's in my house. Get off my porch. Are you going to go in anyway?
I imagine they'd take one look at my house and know that I don't have any illegals here. I mean, I'm just old redneck. I mean, I'm not...
But what if it's a house on the block that someone has reported and said we believe that they're holding illegals in there? Do you think the authorities should have the right to go in and check?
I think that they should follow up on it, yes.
Okay. And if the homeowner doesn't want to let them in, what do you think should happen? The homeowner says, listen, I don't care what you've heard. I'm not going to talk to you about it. I don't want to hear you question me. My door is locked. Get off my porch.
Yeah. Well, in 1981...
You're scaring me. You're scaring me.
I got busted for selling pot.
Okay.
And the fact that I didn't want them to come search my house did not stop them at all.
They came on in.
They just came on in.
Did they have a warrant?
Yes.
How did they get it?
Judge signed it.
I mean, but what did he put on it? I mean, what did he say was the reason why they came in? I mean, did they find some leaves all on your porch? Were you sitting out, hanging out with Willie Nelson outside in the backyard? I mean, what gave them the right to cover your house?
The town I grew up in was a small town, and everybody knew everybody's business.
Oh, okay.
And I was 81. I was a young man.
Right.
So, thought I was smart. Thought I had it all down pat. But when they came and knocked on my door, I found out I had a lot to learn.
Oh, damn. Well, hopefully we get somebody in there that legalizes pot. I've never even tried pot, but in my opinion, if cigarettes and alcohol is legal, it's a damn shame that folks are doing time for pot. But in regards to the immigrants we're talking about, Anna says they should go to ports of entry and remain in Mexico until their asylum status is secure and we know who they are. I'm assuming you would agree with that. Vet them. Yeah, but
Absolutely.
But what if an immigrant suggests that they are fleeing the Mexican cartel and they need to come in this country because if they have to remain in Mexico, the cartel's going to get them?
That's up to Mexico to figure out.
No sympathy.
No sympathy. I mean, they came here looking for free handouts. You know,
are you sure you don't know if it's
putting them up in hotels?
Well, what about the idea that they came here to work and feed their family? Not necessarily good for free handouts. These guys will stand on a roof in the middle of an Arizona summer. They're not all coming for free handouts. Some of them are willing to work.
Well, the ones that are here to work and here to be American citizens and to contribute, they won't mind the remain in Mexico part.
If they're fleeing asylum, they will mind that. They may be dead waiting for the process to go through based on what you and Anna in the comments are saying. They don't have time for all that. But hear this one out. there is absolutely no way to mass deportate all of these folks without violating constitutional rights. Now you're okay though, in regards to the problem of all the immigrants we have here, you believe it's such a threat that you're okay with temporarily suspending the Constitution to get them out. Am I correct?
The Constitution does not apply to them in any way.
Yeah.
They're not American citizens.
But you don't.
Constitution.
Yeah, that ain't. I don't think that's totally true. I don't think that you can, like, for instance, our Constitution gives us the freedom of speech. For instance, you can't just force them to talk. You can't. There are certainly constitutional rights that do apply to them. Just simply being human. You can't just violate every damn thing about them because they're in the country illegally. You don't believe that, do you?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't even want to see them mistreated. I don't.
But you're okay with shooting the father at the border. You don't want to see him mistreated, but you're okay with shooting somebody.
Well, if they come, okay. I'm sitting here in my house.
Okay.
I see a man walking down the road in front of my house. There's a man walking down my road.
Okay.
All right. Wish that man no ill will. Hope he gets where he's going and everything's good.
All right.
But he comes up and knocks on my door or tries to come in my door. He's going to have a bad day.
You said if he comes up and knocks on your door. Before saying if he tries to come in, you said if you knew the person, if you knew the person knocking at your door was an illegal immigrant, is that enough in your opinion to take action?
I'm talking, okay, let's say you're having a party at your house. Everybody is coming through the front door, you're greeting them. Okay. Well, I get there and I don't want to stand in that line, so I go around and try to come in the window.
Okay, that right there is a crime. Okay.
Okay, if they don't come through the POE and they want to cut through the fence or whatever, that's a crime.
Okay. So you are, I'm pretty sure you are because you mentioned it, but you are okay with anyone entering the country illegally. You're okay with a punishment that includes death.
If they persist to come in the wrong way, if they're coming in the wrong way, they are not coming here to do us any kind of good.
But do you realize how many responsible tax-paying citizens in this country came here illegally, got amnesty, and they're doing fine? Reagan granted, I don't know how many tens of thousands that in 1986, Ronald Reagan granted a hell of a lot of illegals amnesty. So the idea that if they come here illegally, they're doing harm, I don't think that holds up to the actual historical facts.
Well, the world wasn't on the edge in 86 like it is now.
Yeah. Maybe. It depends on who you ask. But so you do believe at this point it's such a crisis that anyone coming here illegally, they need to be stopped up to and include lethal force.
They need to be stopped. If you can't come through the POE, we don't want you.
All right, point of entry. Okay, all right, Big Dad. Is this our first time talking?
I enjoyed it.
I'll never forget you. Come on back anytime, man. The door's always open. We don't agree on some of this, but you're always welcome back. All right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Good talk. If you sneeze and he says, I can't pronounce that, but he's basically something like Allah or Abdullah. You're going to shoot her. Naeem has basically said, if you sneeze and it sounds like you coming from a Middle Eastern country, my last caller may shoot you. I hope that's wrong. I really hope that's wrong. The man believes that what's coming in at the southern border is a danger to this country, a danger to the citizens, a danger to his individual family. So what he believes he's doing is taking up his patriotic duty and protecting the country. That's what he believes. You may disagree, but I do want to point that out. Thank you, Rick. Says handsome, nice platform. I do absolutely appreciate that accolade. Thank you. By the way, tap the screen. Smaller audience. It's a Saturday evening. A lot of you folks got better things to do than to sit here and listen to hopefully intelligent, civilized conversation between both sides. But for you folks that are here, please tap the screen. Get your boy on to around 100,000 on the like category. Same thing for you folks on YouTube. Feel free to smash that like button. I believe you have to hold it down for a couple seconds for it to register. For you folks who do enjoy this type of dialogue, both sides of the aisle, without anybody being blocked, banned, or censored, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. That's when we're here generally. 1 p.m. Central, Monday through Friday is when we host these programs. So feel free to drop a subscription if you're on YouTube and follow if you're on TikTok. If you, I'm still reading that comment. If you sneeze and say Abdullah, he's going to shoot. Wow, that's strong. I hope that's wrong. You guys don't think my last caller would shoot someone simply because they came from the Middle East, do you? Hopefully not. Going back to the box, we have some really interesting callers. Let's continue on. Misty is here. Good evening, Misty. You listen to everyone, which is nice. Thank you, Rick. I do try to make that happen. Misty, good evening.
Hey, friend.
Hey, good to have you back on. So, you heard my last caller?
I did.
Did he get it right?
No.
Why not?
Because these are people just looking for a better life, to send money home to their friends, their family. They are not here to do any nefarious thing. They come here, they work, they pay taxes. They don't get any taxes back in return. They buy goods. They're good for the economy. They rent. They buy food. They do everything that we do, only they don't get any return for that.
So why do you think there's so many folks, like my last caller, that has a different viewpoint, that really believes they're here to do some serious harm to this country?
Because they listen to all of the rhetoric that is spread to, just to spread hate, period.
So you think it's about hate?
I do.
Why? Why would they hate them? I mean, these folks don't have anywhere near as much as us financially. We know they're struggling in their own home country. Why would folks hate these people?
They're only worried about one border. And I think, I'll just be honest, I think skin color has a lot to do with it.
So because they're brown?
Yes.
Wow. Now, under Trump, we had an immigration problem during his time as well. Do you think the rhetoric was as strong as it is now?
No, because he made it seem like he was doing something big to stop everything at the border when he really wasn't.
So you're suggesting that there's no difference in how the border is being managed between Trump and Biden?
No, I don't think that there's any difference. I think that they think that when I can't think whether it was Title 42 or Title 8, when one of them ended, the other one took place, and it was a little bit more stricter. I can't think of I think it was Title 42 that took over Title 8.
What about Biden? What about Biden getting rid of Trump's COVID remain in Mexico policy? Do you think that was a good idea, something that should have been done? Or should he have extended it?
I think that getting rid of those policies was part of opening up our country again, was it not?
Yeah, but are the people...
That was what they all wanted, was to open our country again.
Well, you could open up the country without opening up immigration, couldn't you?
No, because we had people coming in. They didn't care about anybody coming in from the northern borders, only the southern borders. Why is that? Why do you think it is?
Well, I know you're alluding to racism. You're suggesting it's because the people coming across the southern border are brown.
I'm not suggesting it. I'm saying it.
Wow. And
Yes.
I mean, we've always had people, Misty, come across the southern border. I mean, has the racism always been with us? Is this something new? What changed?
I think that our former president made the people who support that kind of rhetoric feel safe walking among the rest of us who don't agree with him.
Wow. So you're basically saying Trump. You're saying Trump emboldened racist to be racism or racist to be racist. If I can say that right.
Opinion, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Goodness. Now, folks suggest that when Trump was in office, they actually felt safer. They felt the crime rate was lower. You don't agree with any of that?
No, because if you look at the statistics, it's not true. It was the same. It was the same. And the only reason there wasn't more crime during that last couple of years is because we were all indoors. All of us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree that the country was shut down under the end of the Trump administration because of COVID, but I mean, so let me ask it to you this way. When you look at these two men, minus the racism, we certainly will discuss that in further detail, but do you not see what folks is talking about? The economy was better. They're talking about the lack of global conflicts on this planet. Do you not see the Trump administration more, effective for this nation than Biden, or you think Biden is a better president than Trump?
The lack of global conflict. We were in a war in what? We were in a war the whole time he was president.
Yeah, but he ended it.
No, he didn't.
How did when Trump? You're telling me Trump did not hand Afghanistan back to its own people?
No, he did not. He fixed it to where Biden would have to do it and fail at it. Well, he made a horrible, horrible decision. And to say that there weren't global conflicts, because there was conflict going on in Africa, was there not?
I don't think anybody cares about Africa. You know how we do in America. But I do agree with you. Yeah.
And the other I and P have been going at it since before I was born. I was born in 1955.
Wait, you're talking about the Palestinians and Israelis?
Yes.
Yeah. So Trump has suggested, speaking of global conflicts, Trump has stated that if he was reelected, he could end the Russian-Ukrainian war in 24 hours. Suggesting that Biden's negotiation skills are pathetic and this shouldn't even be going on. Do you think he's not valid? You think he's not accurate? Think he's not telling the truth?
Well, I think he's telling the truth. He would end it. He would help Russia take over it, and then Russia would go on after Poland and so on and so on. So, yeah, I believe he would because, he's friends with that person in Russia.
Yeah.
Close friends.
Yeah, they do seem to have a healthy relationship. You're talking about Vladimir Putin. They do seem to have a healthy relationship. Yes. But there's a lot of Americans in this country, though, Misty, that want us to wipe our hands of these wars, such as helping out the Ukrainians. How do you feel? Because, I get your point that Russia might not stop at the Ukraine and continue on to some of our NATO allies. But how do you feel, being among a tremendous amount of Americans that have a different opinion and believe that Ukrainians should be left to their own devices?
I think that they forget that we have a treaty with Ukraine, that we were supposed to help them when something happened. If they gave up their weapons, their nuclear weapons, we said we would come help.
Yes.
And we aren't the only country that's doing that.
Yeah, true. And Russia, by the way, that treaty, Russia was part of that treaty too, was they not?
They were, but they pulled back from it.
Yeah.
They wanted one certain access, but do you honestly think that Russia would quit at Ukraine?
I'm going to go with what the allies in the region are saying. If they feel like, I'm talking about the other NATO member states over there, if they feel like Russia's still a threat, I don't think they're making it up. So, but at the same time, in defense of, folks on the right, or even in defense of Russia themselves, we were flirting with making Ukraine a member of NATO. And I know how America would react if we tried to, if we heard that either Canada or Mexico was flirting with becoming a member of the Soviet Union in the 1980s, we wouldn't have taken it well either. So, go ahead.
No, we wouldn't.
Yeah, so I can't totally blame Russia, because in addition to the treaty we made that you're talking about, part of that treaty was to not make the Ukraine a member of NATO. And we have been indicating that, just like Russia went back on their agreement, America was indicating that we might go back on it as well and let NATO take on the Ukraine. So we were indicating we might be lying as well.
And that was to protect Ukraine too, though. We remember that was to protect Ukraine, because Russia has always been a threat, wanting to make it that big. I can't think of the word I want to use, but you know what I mean. They want to be the Soviet Union again. Period. And to do that, they have to take that back, and they would have to take Poland back too.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. So let me ask you.
But then,
go ahead.
That is, you've got China and Taiwan then.
Yeah, and some folks are suggesting that Biden, they view Biden as a weaker leader, and that these folks are these dictators are stirring up trouble because they believe that with a weaker leader like Biden, now's the time to act. Whereas they believe Trump was a stronger commander in chief that would have made our adversaries think twice. You don't see where maybe Kim Jong-un or Vladimir Putin would think twice about doing something under Trump versus Biden?
They laughed at Trump. Trump was their puppet. Trump did whatever they wanted him to do. He didn't do anything for the people of the United States. You've got Biden, who has done the PACT Act, the infrastructure bill, the marriage equality, the medication, lowering the medication. My Advair alone was $450, which is an asthma maintenance under Trump.
Well,
it is now $14.90
wow.
under Biden.
So you're definitely in the Biden camp. Let me ask you this one other question before I move it on. Pro Amateur, who's been incredibly kind today, thank you, says if all is freely given to those who step one foot in this country without earning it, how can you believe they all have good intentions? Suggesting that if we let immigrants in this country and they can get every damn thing for free, how can you possibly suggest they're here to do good? How do you respond to that?
What are they getting for free? What are they getting for free? People
housing, food, EBT cards, they're getting a lot of things for healthcare, they're getting a lot of stuff for free.
No, they're not.
How are they eating? How are they eating? Wait, hold on, Misty, how are they eating right now?
They come in and they work. They do daily work. They start out as daily workers. They do day jobs, which pay daily. That's what they do. They pay taxes on this too. They provide an economic boost to our country.
You think all the immigrants? You think all the immigrants that have come here under the Biden administration right now are working and paying for their own way?
I think that the majority of them are, yeah. I would say at least 98%. And the thing of it is, if you came, I can't remember where you live, but I live in Virginia, right?
Okay.
I have seen an influx of immigrants come here, and I'm seeing our houses being built. I'm seeing our road construction. I'm seeing the Hampton, the HRBT, which is the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel expansion, so that we won't have the traffic jams that we have on that bridge. I'm seeing jobs created. I'm seeing so many things happening here. But these are jobs that the average American doesn't want.
Let me ask you this. I do got to move it up, but I want to ask you in regards to your last statement. You're stating that in your area, you're seeing houses, roads, and bridges being built, and they're doing these jobs. Now, before we had an immigration crisis in this country, we still had houses, roads, and bridges in this country. Who do you think was building them before we had the immigration crisis?
They were doing.
Who?
I mean, everybody does it. They help. It's amazing that we've worked side by side with people. These are people, not illegal immigrants. These are people.
What does it mean? Okay, now you're saying they're not an illegal immigrant. If someone comes in this country, sneaks across the river, or goes under the wall, or just makes a run for it at the border and enters this country, are they not an illegal immigrant?
They're an undocumented citizen.
Citizen? They undocumented citizen. That's a different term. Okay. All right. I don't know if I totally agree with that, Misty, but go ahead.
Do you remember what my ethnicity is?
No.
I am indigenous. I am part of the Iroquois tribe, part of the Turtle Clan.
So
We welcomed people in.
yeah. You lost. I mean, I understand the plight, but unfortunately, you lost the war, and the folks the victors
Yes,
that took
we
the
did.
country over, they kind of changed the rules. So I agree with what you're suggesting, that your ancestors, the way they ran the country, but they lost the war, and the new inhabitants have changed the rules. So those rules, I don't know if they still apply.
I meant undocumented immigrants. That's what I meant, not citizens.
All right.
Um,
So in other words, you believe. So in other words, you believe there is no such thing as an illegal immigrant.
I believe that no human is illegal. Yes.
All right.
I believe that the way that they immigrated was, but not them.
All right. Fair enough.
Somebody searching for a better life. Isn't that what we all want? A better life for ourselves and our families.
I want more money. That don't mean I can go in the bank and take it. I mean, I get your point, but there is rules. Go ahead.
That's not what they're doing. They're coming in and they're picking strawberries. They're picking apples. They are doing the jobs for half the money, which I think is just wrong.
So how do you feel about folks who might complain that they're trying to get in this country the right way, and these folks are jumping the line, undocumented citizens, as you call them? They're jumping the line, and all of a sudden they're coming into the country without paying any of the fees or going through any of the background checks and things like that. The people who are doing it the right way. Do you not see this as problematic to those folks?
Well, I also see that somebody putting them on a bus that have scheduled court hearings, put on a bus that sits someplace that isn't an amnesty city, and told that they're going to have jobs and housing when they get there, so that they'll miss their court date.
You're obviously talking about Governor Greg Abbott busing him in Chicago, and to a lesser degree Ron DeSantis. All right, Misty, different. Listen, we're not totally there. I probably agree with more than not, but the undocumented citizens part, I can't agree with that.
I meant immigrants. I work two jobs. I think you remember I work two jobs. I work long 14-hour days every day.
Oh, all right.
Yes, so
is that because of the Biden administration? Could you only have worked one under Trump's economy versus now?
No, it's because I'm a single person trying to take care of myself.
Well said. All right, Misty. All right, I'm just pulling your chain. You know how we do. Anytime, doors are always open to you.
You and I go back a couple years, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
I thank you.
Absolutely.
I thank you for what you do, and I appreciate you letting me up.
Thank you. Well said. Anytime. You know how we do. All right, moving the program on real quick. Don't speak English. What does it mean? But Russia is not scared of Ukraine. No, but if the United States continues helping the Ukraine, even though they're not scared of the Ukraine, they're paying the price, then tell her to leave her door unlocked at night, since they are here to pick strawberries. Yikes! Pro-amateur. And what he is stating is a very common sentiment. In other words, if immigrants are not here to harm anybody, then why don't you take one of them in? You know, as he said, leave your door unlocked if they're not here to hurt anybody. So that is a common sentiment. I don't know. I've stated before, I don't know if I believe the immigrants are anywhere near as dangerous as Trump and many on the right suggest. You know, I still take odds a little bit about the vermin poisoning the blood of the country and some of those comments. Simply put, my opinion is the numbers don't add up. Just like with the COVID conversation we had earlier, if the vaccine is so dangerous, where are all the damn bodies? You can't hide that many of them with 150 million people vaccinated. It's the same thing with the immigrants. The number of immigrants in this country, according to the folks on the right, my beloved MAGA, 10 million have come under the Biden administration. If there are rapists, murderers, vermin, poison, you should see way more damage. I'm not going to pretend like one death is not too damn many. You shouldn't have any. But just because there's some bad people in the crowd don't give you the right to say every damn body coming in is a rapist or a murderer. I'm just simply pointing out that if most of these folks were rapists and murderers, I believe the actual quote from President Trump is, they're not sending us their best and brightest. Mexico, he said, Mexico is not sending us their best and brightest. They're sending us their rapists and murderers. I assume some of them are good people. That's the actual quote. So, in my opinion, if that's what is true, you're telling me all of these folks, 10 million immigrants, have all in sync decided to lay low? 10 million rapists, murderers, vermin, here to poison the blood of the country, all just said, we're going to wait for now and lay low, in sync. Here's the issue. When you look at the most violent cities in America, most dangerous places to be, Chicago, well, actually, it's places like Memphis, Baton Rouge, St. Louis, places like that. But let's go with Chicago, since I know a lot of folks on the right see a lot of issues with Chicago. If Chicago, which is nowhere near the border, is the most, if these folks are that dangerous, the most dangerous cities in America should be El Paso, Eagle Pass, Texas, Laredo, the border cities. That's where all the rapists and murderers are coming through. That's where all of the crime should be. If they are as dangerous as folks suggest, that is where all the crime should be, is near the border. Not in New Orleans or St. Louis, or Los Angeles. It should be right there on the damn border, because that's where all of the rapists and murderers are coming through. But when you look at the worst cities in America, one thing should become evident. It's that the people doing the most damage to this country are people like you and me, actual American citizens, because the areas that have the most crime are not on the border. And the people filling our prisons are not illegal immigrants. I'm just going to tell you that the actual math of what folks are saying, I didn't see the name, let's say Kelowna, I didn't see the name, but thank you for the heart. I'm just simply saying, not taking either side. I'm going by logic. The logic says that all these folks are not as dangerous violently. They're not as violent, rather, as Trump is stating, because you should have a lot more violence. You shouldn't be showing the same murder over and over again on the networks. There should be a new murder every half hour. 10 million people. There's only 350 million of us here. 10 million is a lot of people. Now, if you want to suggest we cannot, due to our infrastructure, due to our resources, we cannot take in so many people in a short time, that's a legitimate argument to discuss. But that don't mean you get to call them all rapists and murderers. That's making up shit to make a point that is not substantiated by the actual evidence. It's just not. Looking in the comment section, they got no jobs, that's why, says Randy Miller. Even for no jobs, the crime doesn't match. No crime, Texas, they bust them out something other city. Well, let's be honest, Rick. They just started busing immigrants up north maybe a year ago. They were bitching about Biden not taking care of the border since he took office. So it's not like there was a huge crime wave in Texas. Then they started busting them up north, and all of a sudden the crime wave followed. No, the crime doesn't. San Antonio is not one of America's most dangerous cities. That's far closer to the border than St. Louis or Little Rock, Arkansas, or Memphis. The evidence doesn't match the stories you're hearing. That's all I'm saying. You should not have to keep showing the same story over and over again. I'm going to give you a straight up fact. Being from Chicago, there's a hell of a lot of violence in my hometown. If you watch the 10 o'clock news in Chicago, there's damn near somebody getting murdered every night. And if you watch the news tonight, the person that got murdered tonight is not going to be discussed on tomorrow's news. There is a new victim. That's what happens when there's people actually getting murdered. You don't show the same damn victim over and over again for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. That's what's happening with the immigrants. You got this girl that was the nursing student murdered in Georgia by a illegal, well, undocumented. I'm not going to, to me, it's an illegal immigrant. Here's the issue I have. I have a hard time finagling the term for somebody who murders. I don't give a damn at that point what you call them. So, which is why I said in the beginning of the program, one of Biden's biggest mistakes is apologizing. The person murdered some damn body. Who gives a damn what you're referring to him as? He's a murderer. How about that? If you don't like me calling him an illegal, how about we just call him a murderer since he did that? I believe that's what Biden should have said. When the progressives were arguing back with him, suggesting that illegal immigrant was the wrong term to use, instead of apologizing, he should have said, well, he's a murderer. How about we go with that? Period. End the discussion. Sometimes apologizing to every damn body doesn't work on your best behalf when half the country thinks we're under threat. Would have been a simple, and nobody could call him out for calling the guy a murderer. That's what he's charged with. Just call him a murderer. Get away from the illegal, undocumented conversation. Well, damn it, he's a murderer. That's what we're going to call him from now on. I hope you're satisfied. Going back to the box. Appreciate you folks that aren't tapping the screen. We did get over 100,000. Same on YouTube. Feel free to smash that like button. You know how we do it. Going straight to the box. Mr. Bojangles, I think that says, good afternoon. Welcome. Well, where did I hit? Oh, Chris Logo. Good afternoon. Good evening, rather.
How you doing?
Hey, illegal immigrant. Is that possible? Is that an incorrect term to use?
I mean, it's not, I wouldn't call it politically correct in today's society. I don't use that term.
So you go with undocumented citizen?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So if you come into,
undocumented citizen, undocumented immigrant.
If you come into the country in a criminal manner, is that not illegal?
Well, sure. What the act that they did is illegal. A person's not illegal, right? An object is illegal or an act is illegal.
Let me ask you this. If somebody broke in your home and they were referred to as an illegal entrant, you think that's incorrect to call them that?
Yeah, I mean, no, it wouldn't be, but that's like a way out of context of what we're talking about, right?
Breaking and entering.
Yeah, right, but I'm just saying, like, the person, like, if it's just someone that broke into my house, it's just somebody that broke into my house. You know what I mean?
Are they there? They're an illegal entrant, right?
Yeah, they entered illegally.
Yeah.
But my thing is, like, a person is not illegal. No human being is illegal, right? Like, I mean, that's my opinion. That's a lot of people's opinion.
Well, you can be an illegal entrant. You can be an illegal occupant. I don't see why you can't be an illegal immigrant.
I mean, like I said, it's just, my personal opinion, I don't feel that any human being is illegal. Especially how can anybody be illegal in stolen land?
Oh, okay. Now that's a different argument. I get your point now. Okay, I get your point now. So in other words, because this land was stolen, anyone can come here?
No, that's just my basis of not calling anybody that steps foot on this land illegal. Because if we're going to call them illegal, then we got to call ourselves illegal.
I mean, I hate to sound insensitive, but damn near every country around the world, if you really look far enough back, their land was probably stolen. I mean, the English went around the world conquering and colonizing people.
Of course, yeah. That's why we call them colonizers. That's why people call us colonizers. It's just kind of a revolving thing, but like at the end of that whole story, I just wouldn't call an immigrant illegal, whether they commit a crime or not.
Okay, fair enough.
They're an immigrant that committed an illegal act.
So how do you feel? I had a few callers back, suggesting that if you're caught entering this country illegally, it should be okay to use lethal force. What say you?
Yeah, that was wild. I was listening to that. That was bizarre. That whole conversation, which is just kind of typical for, and I don't want to like be ageist or like make fun of anybody, but like obviously he was in that like boomer age range. He's an older guy. He's from an area where it's probably predominantly, racist people. And just to say some of the things that he was saying it's just wild to me. But that's what's so scary about like shows like Fox News and stuff like that. These people just sit there and watch these programs and they get propagandized and they just get filled with fear. They use like terrible rhetoric and they say the worst things just to get people scared. I've been reading the comments, like, it's just fear. Everybody, like, MAGA is just driven by fear, right? they just complain about everything. They have grievances about everything, offer zero solutions, and everything is derived in fear. They're just scared people at the end of the day.
Well, I gotta say, even though I don't agree with it, if you start shooting illegal entrants, that is a solution to your fear. I mean, it would, if people knew coming into America illegally would get you shot, I think border control would actually have an easy job at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that's just crazy. Like, come on, you can just shoot people that are coming in. That's just like, come on. Like, let's be realistic. Who's going to do that? And like, what border patrol agent, what citizen, what anybody, how can you just look at somebody and know that they have ill intent, right? Like, you could walk down the street and see 50 people. You don't know if they're citizens here or not. You know what I mean? You don't know what their intent is. Do you know every one of your neighbors? Do you know every one of, like you personally, do you know every single one of your neighbors, everything about their criminal background?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Exactly. Neither do I, right? And I don't need to know what their background is.
So is it safe to assume, based on your statement, you believe a second Trump presidency is harmful to America?
I do, yeah. I don't think anything. I don't see anything beneficial coming from a Trump presidency, especially if he actually does the things that he's running on.
What is he running on that scares you the most?
Just everything in Agenda 47. Every one of those videos that he put out.
Wow.
Everything in there. It's he's running on a fascist platform. He wants to become a dictator. Period.
So you believe that is valid?
Of course it is. I mean, yes, the man is a compulsive liar and has just lied all of his life, but like, what else do we have but to take him on his word, right? Do I think that he's saying all this stuff and he's just gonna all of a sudden become some progressive that wants to help everybody out? Absolutely not. So I only really have to take him on his word that he wants to, give complete control of the FCC and the FEC and all of these agencies to the executive branch, right? He wants to control the media, like everything. Like we know this playbook. It's happened before, right? In the 1930s, everything that he's saying this happened before.
Now you say 1930s. Are you comparing him to Adolf Hitler?
Of course.
You think he really has similarities to that man?
I mean, he uses his rhetoric, and most of his platform is based off of stuff that man did.
That's scary, man. That is scary. That is scary.
It is, and people don't realize that. Like, yeah, it may sound crazy, but like, come on. Like, we've seen what happened. We see what his rhetoric does. Like, we see what his words can do and what his words can make people do, right? Like, there's that, like, what do they say? If you can get people to believe absurdities, you can get them to commit atrocities.
Wow.
And that's what Trump did. That's what he did. He just got people to believe everything he says. These people are willing to lay down their life for a guy that does nothing for them. Enrique Tarrio, these guys are sitting in jail for decades now because they listened to a lie that he propagated for years.
Well, if he gets reelected, they'll get out.
Well, yeah, that's
get out
too. He wants to give aid and comfort to these terrorists.
Wow, man, you really paint a dark picture, man. So, if Trump gets reelected, you don't see just a good economy, a happy America. You see some pretty dark shit.
Well, of course, yeah, I do see a lot of dark stuff, and of course, like, there can be, things that could happen with the economy, and there can be good things. Like, there's one good thing that I always say in these discussions, like one good thing that Trump did. I can't remember the exact name of like the law or the bill, but he did something about like the punishment for people that harm animals, and that's the only thing that I like about that guy. Is that he made the penalties harder for people that abuse
animals. I think he made it a felon or something like that, a felony.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up to see exactly what it is, but
you believe after 4 years in office, the best thing Trump did was for dogs. He didn't do nothing for the humans. Wow.
Hold on. Humans that have a lot of money, yes, he did do very good things for them, right? People that have tons and tons of money, they're good, right? I don't have tons and tons of money. He didn't do anything good for me.
Wow.
Would I get a little tax break for a couple years? Whoop-de-doo.
All right. All right, Chris, you once again another guest to scare the hell out of me, but you know how it is. You're always welcome back, man.
Buddy. I'm sorry. It's been a while. I haven't seen you in a while, man.
And I won't forget what you just said there. But anytime, come back through.
Will do, buddy. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Somebody stated, this is why progressives is not the way, says Dennis, in reference to my last caller. Why progressive, this is not the way. I mean, there's arguments to be made on both sides of that. But he paid his taxes in China. Okay, looking in the comments, can we get a real caller with common sense? Kitty Davis, we're going to always exercise free speech here. What do we say all the time on every broadcast? We go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon. Every caller, someone believes that person has no common sense. That's how a free speech program works. Kenny, I do appreciate your input, so I'm not chastising you personally. But understand, folks, if you favor broadcasts where everyone has an opinion or point of view that you agree with, unfortunately, I'm going to be the first to admit this is not the place for you. Everyone gets to speak here. So you're not going to see everybody bashing Trump or everybody wearing a red hat. You're going to see folks speaking from all perspectives of the political theater. We do believe in everyone getting to speak. Rick says this guy is great. Thank you. Sounds a hell of a lot better than what my ex-wife used to say. I know I agree, but I'm going to talk shit when it sounds stupid. All right, Kenny, shout out for talking shit. I try to do a little bit of that myself. Appreciate it. Caller from Alabama you meet. So when he asked for a caller with common sense, I think it says Desmond Dross or something like this, says you want another caller from Alabama. Some of that backwoods conversation, if you know what I mean. Let me continue on. Andy. Good afternoon. Welcome. Good evening. I'm just thinking.
You have another caller from Alabama.
Yes, Europe, and you're leaning left. You are from Alabama. Taking out immigrants with lethal force to defend this country's border. Andy, what say you?
Andy says that J.P. Morgan, head of research, says immigration is undeniably a good thing for the economy, as bank forecasting even higher U.S. GDP growth this year.
But what about folks coming in illegally? Is that good for the economy?
According to this, we need those laborers. We need them here on visas regardless. What the last caller did not tell you is Alabama passed the strictest immigration laws in the country, and, well, Alabama almost went broke because the farmers couldn't give out visas, and all the crops died on the vine.
Oh, yeah, I think you did mention that before, that the strict immigration policies has actually hurt Alabama as opposed to helping it. But what about the folks that are suggesting that they actually feel their safety is threatened by letting so many folks in, unvetted, military-aged males, things like that?
I'm more afraid of MAGA.
What about MAGA fear?
Undocumented workers ain't never walked up to me at the 4th of July and told me they were going to rip that unpatriotic mask off my face.
Damn.
MAGA has.
Someone told you they were going to take assuming COVID or something like that.
At the height of the pandemic, no less.
Wow. Has anybody, and I see,
literally had more people passing away than were born.
Hold on a second, because I see in the comments, government name or somebody says same. Has any of you folks ever had a mask on like my guest here, and somebody threatened you for simply wearing a mask? Wow. Because I see somebody else agree with you there, Andy. Why would someone threaten to take, obviously someone you didn't know or have any relationship, why would they threaten you for wearing a mask?
Because I was the only one out there doing so. They weren't taking care of themselves. And so this was at the height of the pandemic, where literally we had frozen trucks out behind the hospital because we had no more room at the mortuaries.
Yeah. Now, see in the comments.
She ran from me with her kid. This is no lie. My husband can back me up. This is how mentally out. They've watched Fox News and become so immersed in the fear that fear rules them. Like nothing else permeate. Like you can show them the crime statistics where, they are the least amount of crime. They don't care. You can show them where immigration's good for the country. They don't care. It's that farm rage fear that Fox News drives home every single night. And if it's it's not be afraid of the immigration, it's be afraid of the LGBTQIA plus community. Or be afraid that women having, the ability to have birth control is going to take away the family values. Can we stop with all the fear farming?
Oh. Why do you think they're doing that? If you believe they're really promoting fear, what do you think is the purpose of that?
Okay, what legislation has the Congress written? The Republican Congress written this season?
Well, they came up with a border bill that they didn't really like it at the end, but they did come up with a border bill.
that lady that gave the rebuttal to the Speaker of the House,
oh no,
to the Speaker of the Union, Kate Britt, she helped write that very bill that she wouldn't sign and then cried about on national TV.
Yeah, I think she's going to go down in history as the worst State of the Union address rebuttal ever. I mean, that
even in the state, people who are Republican are making fun of her.
Yeah.
Did you fail acting class?
Yeah, the rise and decline of emotion in her speech. And sometimes I'm talking about something and to make a point, I can get emotional at times too, but I suppose the audience can tell when it is, deliberate or out of sync or, it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, she came across like, like a horror movie, where you watching somebody and they're telling you something, they're about to harm you or something. She can't, like she should be holding a butcher knife or something.
Horror movie at that, not even a good horror movie.
Yeah.
She wasn't even like a Freddy Krueger, no, just a bad big horror movie that you would have seen on Saturday night with Elvira. That's what kind of horror movie that was.
Mm. So let me, because we mentioned Trump and some of the folks on the right. Many would ask, what the hell has Biden done good? How do you, because I know you vote left. Somebody asked you, well, you talking about Trump, so what has Biden done good for the country? How would you respond to that?
Well, first of all, the infrastructure package is great. Like, Alabama's getting a bunch of money. Now, let's hope that Alabama does better with the infrastructure money because it has to go to certain things than they did with the COVID money that they gave to the for-profit prison, which is corporate welfare.
Mm. Yeah.
But that's another story.
Yeah.
I like the fact that inflation has gone down to 3%, even though the corporations are still price gouging us. I like the fact that the chip tax is going to happen here so that we won't be held up like after the pandemic and have to worry about cars and stuff costing more because we have to wait for chips to come for the cars and the cars are sitting there waiting. I like the student loan forgiveness because there are lots of people, even that are Gen X, that are carrying student loan while they're taking care of their baby boomer parents and still have their millennial kids at home.
So let me stop you there. I gotta say, because we often hear we should stop sending money to the Ukraine and we need to take care of what's going on here. I believe if we know the left is talking about the student loan forgiveness, the right is the ones that's against it. In my opinion, if Trump was to convince the right to enact those, student loan forgiveness, I believe that that would be that maybe legalizing marijuana. I think that would guarantee Trump another term, because I do believe MAGA would certainly be in favor of forgiving student loans if Trump said it was a good thing. And
yeah, but Trump wants to eliminate people that smoke. Like, take them off the planet. He actually said he wanted to eliminate drug dealers and their customers.
Well, it's a different. Well, so you're saying that included marijuana? He wants to execute marijuana users?
He thinks he doesn't. He's old. He doesn't know. Yeah, all of it.
Wait, you can't say Trump is old when his competition is Biden, though, can you?
Yeah, but when we're talking about a certain substance and how he views it, we can't.
Okay.
You asked me about that's how his opinions forms back there. So, he hasn't moved forward a lot in that progression. I'm just saying.
All right. I don't know. We may end up with the guy again, though. I mean, you're down there in Alabama. Do you see any?
You're leaving out the most important proponent. You can't keep ticking women off, or y'all wouldn't keep losing elections.
I don't know, Andy. I tell you all the time.
How many elections have y'all lost since they overturned Roe? All of them?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But I tell you, Andy, all the time, there's a hell of a lot of
red wave at the midterms. Wait a minute. How many times have you not seen a red wave at the midterms when we elect a president that's democratic. It always happens. The fact that it did not happen this time says a lot about where the population feels this country's going. Not to mention the excessively low voter turnout for Super Tuesday, which Republicans normally turn out for in droves.
I hear you, but there's a hell of a lot of female MAGA out there that would disagree with you about that woman comment.
No, they're just loud. There's not a lot of them. They're just noisy.
So if you had to guess, hold on. If you had to guess nationally, what percentage of the women vote do you think Trump is going to get?
I don't know, because he was upset last time because he wasn't getting the suburban housewives vote. Suburban housewives, why don't you like me? So he was already losing women's votes before he overturned, before he went around bragging about giving the judges for overturning Roe. Don't miscount us, Tim. We will come back and make sure he's not president.
I'll leave it at that. All right, Andy, we will see in some 7 months or so. Appreciate you coming in. Have a good weekend. And moving on, Trump said women need to be punished if they have an abortion. I didn't hear that, but many on the right, there's enough folks on the right that have said it, that even if Trump didn't say it, that is highly supported on the right. That if a woman first of all, if you make abortion illegal, they face jail time to start with. But there are some places, I think North Carolina, I did a video on it where you had Republican politicians suggesting that if a woman has an abortion, she should qualify for capital punishment. So that is true. The folks on the right do believe, the politicians, the people, when given a chance to vote, talking about my folks on the right, when the actual people in red states are given a chance to vote, it's clear that their politicians that they have chosen are going too far with this. Kansas, Ohio, you see what's happening in red states. When they get a chance to vote, they're like, no, you don't went too far with this shit. But the way our politics works, a lot of politicians in these red states are preventing the people from voting on. I think even Ohio tried to go around the will of its citizens and still ban abortion, even though the people, when given a chance to vote, voted it down. So, but will women show up and show out against Trump? I don't know. Let's see what Clinton Walston has to say. Good evening, Clinton. Welcome back to the program. This guy is right on. Rick, thank you. I don't know about all that, but Clinton, good evening. Hey, so I'm doing good. I saw you in the comments. I'll give you the floor.
That woman does not flex the great state of Alabama.
You're the third caller I've had from Alabama. Yeah, thank you for that, big dog, for those hats and mustaches. Appreciate it. How does she not reflect the mindset of Alabama?
Okay, I live in northeast Alabama, around close to Fort Payne, but I live on Sand Mountain.
Okay.
My county is the number one county for farming and cattle.
Okay.
Besides Coleman County. And you don't drive 300 yards any direction from my house and not see cotton fields, cornfields, soybean fields. And South Alabama has crops, but they have mainly timber. And I don't know where she gets that they couldn't get migrants to pick crap. That's bullshit. No, I don't see migrants. I see freaking combines, and I seen, what kind of equipment picking stuff. I don't see immigrants picking stuff.
So I had somebody on YouTube, on my YouTube side of the house, said migrants don't even want to come to Alabama because the folks dislike them so much. But so you're saying you don't have a big influx of immigrants in your state at all?
I mean, now, probably about 6-8 miles from where I live, they used to, years ago, now I'm talking 20 years ago, they used to come by and pick taters up, and they'd be here 2 weeks. They'd pick taters, dig taters, and pick them and do them in the tater gin, and then they would be off to another state, another part of the state, or another state altogether. But it was kind of a seasonal thing.
Okay.
And where she got the crops that got set in there, and Alabama about went broke, that's horse shit.
So how do you? So now I had you heard her from Alabama, but I had another caller on from Alabama that was far to the right in terms of dealing with the border. He actually suggested that to get the border under control and not have so many folks entering against the law, that lethal force should be authorized. How do you feel about something like that?
I mean, I think lethal force ought to be authorized to an extent. I don't think, I'm not, I mean, I've had a chance to take people's lives, had guns pulled on me, you know, in bigger cities, and I always carry a gun. If I don't, it'll be 3 or 4 of them. I'm strapped if I need to be strapped. We'll say that.
What do you mean when you say, though, lethal force to an extent? Give me some examples.
Well, let's just say, okay, migrants coming across the border. Let's just say they've got drugs, they're running, they pull a pistola as they come.
Oh, that's self-defense. Yeah, but
self-defense. You know, I don't think you should take anybody's life unless you absolutely last resort have to.
Okay. So if you see somebody coming across the border, maybe they do have a barrel of cocaine strapped on their back with a backpack or whatever satchel they have. You know they have drugs, but you do not see any firearms, and they're running for it. Do you think you should be able to use lethal force on them?
No, I mean, I think you should. I mean, they ain't gonna, you know, you're gonna be able to run their ass down if they're a pack mule.
Yeah.
And they either gonna drop the shit, take off, or whatever. I mean, you know, get their shit, grab them, detain their ass, put them back across the fence. You know, I mean, that's the way I see it. But I did want to talk on a topic that you are talking on, kind of.
Sure.
Now, yesterday when I talked, we were talking all week. You've talked about the border and this and that and Trump. But now my stepbrother worked in a place, a little bitty fab shop. They were 7 or 8 work people. And you said something last week about, you know, I believe it was the courts decided that immigrants should have the right to have a Second Amendment.
Yeah, there was an immigrant caught with a firearm on him, and a federal judge ruled that he couldn't be charged, which is essentially saying immigrants have the folks that are here, not even here, undocumented, whatever the hell the term is, but they should have. Yeah, they have basically saying they have a right to have a firearm.
Okay, let me tell you 2 quick stories real quick.
Sure.
My stepbrother worked in a little fab shop in northeast Alabama, close to Iberville, and between there and Gunnersville. And a guy this is probably around 20, 25 years ago. This guy was undocumented. Okay, he worked there for close to a year, I believe it was. I never worked there, my stepbrother did. And this guy got pissed off at the boss, went out to her car, got a gun, shot him, got in the car, left. They never found that guy. And it killed him, okay? Me and my sons, and my twin, my boy-girl twin and my son was going to Iberville last year. And they have a high, Kilpatrick, Iberville, Collinsville all have high Hispanic populations. Anyway, long story short, we about got our back bumper took off. This Mexican Hispanic feller had drove up, and I don't know if he mistaken me for somebody or what, but we're on a 2-lane highway going 2 north, 2 south, and a turning lane, so a 5-lane. He come in a turning lane, and down near he had oncoming traffic, and about took my bumper off, and then near took my front bumper off. I got his tag number, called it in. I was on the phone with 911. And he went up, and I followed him till the cops got there. Before the cops got there, he pulled out in the parking lot, which I pulled behind him. Anybody with common sense knows that you cannot shoot somebody when they're dead and that's behind you unless you get out.
Yeah.
And I didn't know he had a gun. I didn't know if he was Hispanic or what. I just knew that he was dark-skinned because I seen when he went by.
Okay.
And long story short, we got to the Dragon Smoking Vape Bar beside a restaurant there. And it's a vape shop, and he pulled up, and I pulled up, and the next thing you know, after I pulled up behind him, he motioned me around. I thought he just wanted to talk, see what was going on. I pulled up, and he said, "Do we have a DAM problem?" And then he pulls a poo-poo, or pew-pew, as y'all say it. He pulls that and sticks it up on the steering wheel and says, "We have a damn problem, and I can solve it." Well, me being, you know, I'm not going to endanger my kids. I don't care who you are. But I'm damn sure not going to run from something to protect my kids. I'm going to be right there. Well, after he pulls a gun, and he was full-blown Hispanic with a new truck as usual, and I back up.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You said he was full-blown with a new truck as usual. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I don't know how your part of the country is, but I really don't know where you live, Tim. We talk a lot.
I'm in the Midwest.
Okay. Here in Alabama, you don't see Hispanics driving pieces of shit, junk clunkers like most Americans. I'm not saying all Americans, I'm saying some Americans.
Okay.
I mean, I drove shit all my life I've had to piece together because I can't afford a new one.
All right.
But
so why do you think they have new trucks?
Oh, 99% of the Hispanics you see in northeast Alabama and around other states around Alabama, they will have brand new Z71s. We're talking about $50,000, $60,000 trucks. I work with a Hispanic. It's got 9 vehicles, makes the same money I make, and he drives a Cadillac Escalade.
So how do you think he's getting such an expensive car that you couldn't make on that same salary?
I just don't think they pay as much taxes. That's what I'm getting at.
That much in taxes is cut? I mean, hell, even if you...
Go Go ahead.
I don't think you, even if you get rid of all my damn taxes, I don't know if I could afford a brand new Escalade.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. But how do they? I mean, if you just rode around Aberville, Alabama, Boaz, Gunnersville, Kilpatrick, if you went through Kilpatrick, it literally, I mean, there's 10,000 trailers there, and they're just, I mean, you can hand your neighbor a bologna sandwich. They're so close and not get wet and it raining. That's how damn close they are.
That's pretty damn close. But how do you respond? In the comments, several folks are saying that you're talking about the nature of how they're living because you're jealous of them. How do you respond to that?
Well, I'm not jealous of it in the world. I got me a brand new double wide. I live in a double wide. It's a 2020 model. No, it's a 2021 model. It's not old. It's a zone 3. It's built like a damn home. I paid for it cash. I worked my ass off and for 30 years and paid for it. Saved the money up when I got my divorce, and it's on my family farm. I'm not jealous, but I don't understand how I know 2 or 3 Mexican crews, and I can take pictures and send them to you. That one thing, like I told you, they live in a double wide also, and probably hadn't been here 10, 15 years at the most. And they've got over $600,000 worth of equipment, over $300,000 worth of nice trucks, probably $10,000, $20,000 worth of trailers to haul them on, and their own damn business. Now, how do you do that when I've been working 30 years? I can't afford it.
Well, in the comments on YouTube, Big Rooster Show, friend of the program, says because he lives in a house with 12 to 15 people, that's how he has better cars than you. So he's saying that they pool their money together, which makes their money go further. You don't see any...
Absolutely. He is absolutely correct, but here's the thing. In Aberville, they got on to them being a pretty good-sized city, a population of maybe 15, 20,000. They got on to them because they had so many in the house. Okay, if I was to bring in, say, 10 other kids in my house and I've only got 3 bedrooms, you don't think DHR are going to come in here and whoop my ass over that? Yeah, they will. So why don't they?
Yeah, you raised. So in other words, you're saying that if Americans lived 10 to a house, we would have to face, child enforcement services and things like that, and they get away with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if I brought in, let's just say I brought in a female, I started dating and she had 3 kids. Well, I've got 3 kids. I've only got 3 bedrooms. I don't have enough bedrooms. Let's just say that...
They only had 3... Wait. They had 6 kids and 3 bedrooms on the Birdie Bunch. They didn't get seen by child enforcement services.
Back in the day, Bubba, it's TV.
Okay, all right, you're right, it is TV. And by the way, Life of Galena, thank you for that $2 super chat on YouTube, thank you.
But
so, go ahead.
If I had, if I brought a female in and she had 2 or 3 kids and we didn't have enough bedrooms, DHR would be on our ass. But I know exactly, he's right, he's telling the truth.
I don't know.
If you go in somewhere and it's a 3 bedroom, there's 15 people in the living room and 5 or 6 in each bedroom, and we don't get to live like that.
I gotta say, I don't know if I totally agree with that. If you and your girlfriend got 6, 7 kids together in a 2-bedroom home and you're struggling, I don't know what the hell taking your children and potentially putting them in foster care. I mean, what if you don't think my house is big enough, approve me for more housing assistance and food stamps. I don't know if because the children are in a good home. Maybe they're sleeping on the couch and things like that, but you're going to put them in foster care? You think that's going to be better? I don't know.
When I got my divorce, it's just like any other man. I think, if a man and a woman have a kid, by God, child support, we're getting on another subject. Child support shouldn't be that way. Man, it takes a man, if it takes a woman. But what I am saying is this. If I brought a woman in here and let's just say she had 2 boys, 3 boys, let's say, we got to find places from the state. My ex-wife go to DHR and say, hey, there's so many people in that house and only so many bedrooms. Well, they're going to come out and investigate. If they don't see what they like or the living conditions, my ass can be in jail or even in court.
Unfortunately, I have heard of cases like that. I mean, that's really wrong that if a parent is struggling and this is the best they can. I mean, I know people, I used to live in a van myself when I used to be an expediter traveling and doing freight across the country. And I've seen families. I mean, my van was hooked up. I had a big screen TV and shit, and I had a really nice setup. But I did see people at truck stops with their children in vehicles and things like that. To me, if you're a good parent, even if you're living in a small living environment, that shouldn't be a cause to take somebody's kids away.
Exactly. And let me leave you with another thought. I want you to think about this.
Sure.
And it's kind of on the subject, but off subject. The courts are wanting immigration to have Second Amendment rights, or I don't want to call them illegal. We'll say Hispanics or whatever. Just undocumented people. They want to have Second Amendment.
I don't know if your correction was any better than. Okay, go ahead.
Well, how is that right when a lot of Democrats and stuff is trying to get Joe Biden and all these people is trying to take guns away from Americans, but they're wanting Hispanics to have them? How the hell does that work?
To me, that sounds just as backwards as, being against welfare while banning abortion. I mean, it's the same thing, I agree with you. It sounds backwards as hell to be against the Second Amendment right, but then have what sounds like a liberal judge allowing immigrants to have firearms. It's the same thing in my opinion. Go ahead.
So how do you think that's going to turn out? I mean, if you're undocumented, they have no proof where you're at, who your name is. I mean, like the Hispanic I was telling you about that owns the Cadillac Escalade, 9 of the vehicles. I mean, his name is Larry. Now, what damn Hispanic named Larry? Come on.
I gotta go. Appreciate you coming in. Oh my God, Clinton. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say you have a good weekend and God bless you, brother.
You too. What kind of Hispanic has a name like Larry? All right, folks. All right. You know what we do here. Do appreciate you, folks. The 112. I didn't solicit likes on TikTok for quite a while, but we did go over the 6 figures with a smaller audience, by the way. Saturday night, I know a lot of you folks got a lot of other plans, so I certainly appreciate you spending a little time with the host and tapping the screen and get me up to 112, I think it is, or something like that. So, we always say the program is uncensored, always will be, always has been from the very beginning. So if you do enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, you are in the right place. Feel free to follow the program on TikTok, and for my YouTubers, certainly smash that like button. Believe you have to hold it down for a couple seconds for it to register on YouTube, but it does help out the algorithm. The program always will remain MAGA friendly in its entirety. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. 1 p.m. Central, Monday through Friday is when we typically do this, but sometimes I do have the weekend discussions when there's something worthy of discussion, and the whole program tonight was titled, "Is Trump right about everything?" Because folks do say Trump was right about everything, but we got a little bit interesting at towards the end of that. Nevertheless, it is your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I will see you guys on Monday. You guys have a wonderful evening. And for you YouTubers, wow, there was some very, very kind super chats in there. I do want to acknowledge that. Thank you, folks. Certainly pro amateur. Wow. Took me to a whole nother universe. I do appreciate that, man. Thank you for the support. I actually want to do some bigger video quality on here, so I went out and bought a more modern. This is actually twice as large as what you guys are viewing me on. So your donations do help the program, microphones, things like that, because I do have a home studio as well, so we're going to be doing a lot of them more from there, and not as opposed to always in the vehicle, because I can actually present video evidence of what we're discussing and things like that to match the program. So I do appreciate folks who do show a little bit of love to the program with donations like that. And pro amateur, wow, thank you. Same to Anna P and Naeem Barber always coming through. So I do appreciate you folks. Thank you very much. And we will continue the program on Monday at 1 p.m. You folks, if this is the first time, drop a subscription. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. See you later.